Big A in Anaheim, California, where the Wild West continues tonight. Second place California hosting the third place Texas Rangers in the first of this four-game series. And the Rangers, like has been their tune all year long, they have a great offensive machine. They are second to the Minnesota Twins in hitting this year. 275 average by the Twins, 273 by Texas, and they are jumping on Jim Abbott in this first inning. A pair of runs on a double by Julio Franco and a single by Juan Gonzalez, and that pushed the lead to 2-0. Rookie Palmer has just walked, and now it's Steve Buechele, and the count to him is ball one. And Lance Parrish just went out for a visit with Abbott, who is struggling with his control in this top of the first inning. Stays high and outside. And Dave Campbell, this was a ball club that just handed the Oakland A's their first series sweep since June last year, and they outscored them 23-8.
Now, the Rangers have been a streaky team all year, Steve. They've won 14 in a row. They've won 6 in a row. They're currently on a 3-game winning streak after coming off a 4-game losing streak. Right now, they're starting to hit the baseball again.
And this is not like Jim Abbott. He has been outstanding in the month of May and June. He gets a strike across, and that brings an ovation.
Jim got the first 2 hitters in the inning, Brian Downing and Rafael Palmeiro, then walked Sierra. Franco hit the double. That drove in a run. Gonzalez hit a looping single. That drove in run number 2, and then he threw 4 wide ones in a row to Dean Palmer.
And Buechele takes a 2-1, swings through it. It's 2 balls and 2 strikes. Buechele having an excellent year this year. Came in hitting .274 with 11 home runs and 33 RBIs. And Steve is up there with Gonzalez at second base. And over at first, the rookie. And he is a very talented one in Dean Palmer. There's a breaking ball, strike 3. So Abbott finally gets out of the first inning. A struggling first inning it is, and Texas has a 2-0 lead. The Texas Rangers came into tonight's ball game a game behind the California Angels for second place in the American League West. And here's the lineup that Doug Rader will show Texas tonight. To lead things off, Luis Polonia. They feel he's one of the best leadoff men in the game. Batting second, Dave Gallagher. He's in center field. Hitting third is Wally Joyner. He's been on a tear of late. Dave Winfield, who has been red hot, is the cleanup man. Then it's Dave Parker hitting .222. Gary Gaetti hits in the 6th spot. Batting 7th is Lance Parrish, the catcher. Louis Soho, the second baseman, is 8th. And batting 9th, the shortstop, Dick Schofield.
Pitching against him will be 26-year-old left-hander John Barfield. He is making his 5th start. He has moved into rotation now. John Barfield, you see the walks are very good, very low. 15 walks in 58 innings, 1 every 4 innings. The Texas Rangers and Bobby Valentine and the pitching coach Tom House can live with that.
And Tom House was saying he does not have overpowering stuff. Gets it up there about 87 miles an hour, and the first man he will face is Luis Polonia. 305 the average, still looking for his first home run. But his job just to get on base, and they would like to see the on-base percentage up from 35% where it is right now.
Well, he's doing a little better this year. He has 20 base on balls. Last year, he went through a stretch in July and August, 135 consecutive at-bats without a base on balls. So Louis trying to work for those walks, but he's an aggressive hitter by nature.
No balls and 2 strikes.
Checking the Ranger defense, 19-year-old Ivan Rodriguez just up. He is the Rangers catcher. Defensively, Steve Buechele may be playing the best third base of anybody in the major leagues. And the outfield, Dean Palmer, has only played 1 game in the left field in his life in the minor leagues, but is playing here for the Rangers at the big league level. He's a third baseman by trade, but he is not going to supplant Buechele right now.
And Barfield has the count to Luis Polonia, 1 ball, 2 strikes. Really a tough guy to strike out. He's got 35, though, this year. Sends a ground ball past Franco into right field for the base hit.
Kind of a matter of not pitching to your defense. They were playing Polonia to hit to the opposite field, including the infield. Then they threw him a slow curveball. He found the hole. That's normally where a second baseman would be, but second baseman Franco was playing way up the middle. And Louis goes out and hits a routine grounder, but Franco's defensive positioning, they were playing Polonia to hit the opposite way.
Now he is probably going to do what he does best, even though Rodriguez is the catcher. Barfield does have a pretty good move home and also a quick move to first base, but Polonia is tied with Ricky Henderson for the most stolen bases in the American League with 27. And hitting second is Dave Gallagher.
Ivan Rodriguez, 19 years old, catching for the Rangers, has a great throwing arm. I don't know if Polonia will test him early or not.
Misses outside. 1 ball, no strikes.
Gallagher, a good contact hitter. Does not strike out very much. Will bunt. Can take a strike. Looking down right now at third base coach Bobby Knopf to see if anything might be on.
Darren Johnson was telling me before the ball game, who's the hitting instructor for the California Angels, saying that Gallagher is one of his favorites because he's a guy who does not have the skills of maybe a multi-talented player like Ruben Sierra, but he will do whatever it takes to get on base, to help himself out, to help his club, and he really understands the art of hitting.
The expression in baseball is he knows how to stay within himself. Doesn't try to do things he can't do. In other words, he doesn't try to hit the ball out of the ballpark. He just tries to put it in play, advance runners, take a walk now and then. He's a good bunter. Does a lot of things to help the club, but he's never going to be in the superstar category.
Polonia not going, and Rodriguez up quickly, and they swing and a miss. It's 1-2.
Rodriguez has been timed in 1.9 seconds from the time the ball hits his glove getting it to second base. That's about as good as you're ever going to find any catcher. Only one catcher in the last 30 years has played more than 25 games at the big league level at age 19, and his name was Johnny Bench. 1967, and Bench appeared in 26 games. This kid is really something. The Rangers love him.
Barfield trying to keep Polonia close, and they really feel like he has a shotgun arm. I heard a scout say the other day about Rodriguez, he is like Benito Santiago, but with a better attitude. Swing and a miss, and down goes Gallagher. That's the first strikeout for Barfield in this game.
Well, we mentioned the fact that Gallagher doesn't strike out much. That time he chased a pitch. It looked like it might have been out of the strike zone. Ball a little bit up and away. Gallagher trying to hit it through that hole on the right side between Palmeiro, who's holding the man on, and Franco, but he drew air.
Tom House saying this fella has really helped his stock this year. And now he has to face Wally Joyner, who's hitting .320 this year with 9 home runs, 46 RBIs. And Joyner with a drive to deep right field. Gonzalez will not reach it. Polonia around third base. He will score easily, and it's 2-1 Texas.
Wally Joyner had a little bit of a tailspin, but all of a sudden he has found the range again. He has a 10-game hitting streak, now extended to 11. Has raised the average back up over 320. Both these clubs come in hot. The Angels have won 6 of their last 8, and one way to get right back in a ball game is to counter the Texas score by getting something of your own. The Angels got a little bit of a break here. That ball could have hopped over the fence, a ground rule double, then Polonia would have had to stop at third. But fortunately for California, skidded up against the fence, and Joyner gets the RBI for Wally number 47.
And he's in scoring position for Dave Winfield, maybe the hottest California Angel. Hitting .327 in his last 40 games with 10 home runs and 30 RBIs. And on Monday, he went 5 for 5. Oldest player in Major League Baseball history to hit for the cycle. We are live at Anaheim Stadium in Anaheim, California. Steve Physioc and Dave Campbell, 2-1. The Texas Rangers lead the California Angels. And Winfield has the count. 1 ball, no strikes, 2-1. And there's a ground ball booted by the shortstop, but he still has time, and then it's dropped by Palmeiro. Green had the base runner Joyner go in front of him. He stumbled, and now Raphael does, and there's runners at the corners with just 1 out.
Well, a lot of goalies in the National Hockey League would understand what a screenshot is, and with Joyner cutting in front of Gary Green, I think it definitely distracted Gary. He takes his eye briefly off the ball. It actually hit him in the foot, but he still gets it to first base in time, but Palmero cannot come up with it. I think Raphael maybe took his eye off the ball, too. Let's see if this ball is in the dirt. Man, I don't know if it is or not. I think Palmero just flat missed it.
So the Rangers with the tying run just 90 feet away with one out, and the go-ahead run at first base, and here's Dave Parker. And Parker is hitting .340 with an 11-game hit streak, went 1 for 5 on Wednesday, and he's raised his average from 198 to 222.
Parker had a good road trip. He and Polonia both had 10 RBIs to tie for the club lead on the recent road trip. So David's starting to find the range.
Barfield starts him off with the breaking ball. Strike one.
Dave Parker can have some real ugly swings, folks, but don't think that just because he missed one curveball by a foot that he might not sit on one. Sometimes that's known as setting up the pitcher.
Well, Dave, they have charged Gary Green with the error. And again, the off-speed. There's strike two.
Parker leads the Angels in strikeouts with 57. David has not had real good cuts at either one of those two breaking balls, not picking up the spin from John Barfield.
Tries to get him to chase the pitch in the outside corner again, and the count will go 1 ball, 2 strikes. Polonia started it with a 1-2 pitch. He hit it into right field just past the lunging second baseman Franco. Gallagher struck out, but Joyner hit a double to drive and run, and now Winfield's reached on an error, and Parker takes one just low. Ball 2.
Well, whereas the California Angels have been pitching rich, the Texas Ranger rotation was supposed to be Nolan Ryan, Bobby Witz, Scott Champerino, Kenny Rogers, and Kevin Brown. Only 2 of those guys are in rotation. The Rangers have 10 guys in the DL.
Foul back. Stays 2-2.
Nolan, not on the DL, is scheduled to pitch next Tuesday against the Oakland A's down in Arlington. He will not pitch this weekend, has not pitched in well over a week.
And even though he used to pitch for the California Angels, they sent him home. They wanted him to get ready, and they feel he could be ready by as early, what, Tuesday?
Well, Bobby Valentine knows with a guy like Nolan Ryan, you send him back home, he is going to do everything to get ready for that start. Other players might go home at party, but not Nolan Ryan.
Parker, high bounce to Franco's. Going to second. They got 1. That's all they'll get, and we're tied at 2. Let's go to Chris Myers.
Thanks, Steve. In Minnesota, White Sox with a 4-2 lead, bottom of the 9th, bases loaded. Kirby Puckett struck out by Bobby Thigpen. But then the Major League home run leader, Chili Davis, up there with a chance to win it for the Twins. Fly ball left, and Thigpen gets the out, gets his 15th save. White Sox win 4-2, and the Fighters have entered the ring in Las Vegas. We'll update you. Stay with us.
Bobby Thigpen heading back towards the penthouse. He's been in that other house for a while lately, but as a relief pitcher, you have to learn to live with the good and the bad.
And with Minnesota losing, California and Texas has a great chance to move up in the American League West.
They talk about the leadership qualities that Dave Winfield and Dave Parker bring to the Angels. Here's a 40-year-old and a 39-year-old running as hard as they can. And the thing about it, that really permeates itself throughout the clubhouse, and nobody else dares loaf because Winfield or Parker will walk up to him, grab him by the neck, and say, hey, we run everything out here. Dave Winfield, at 40 years old, still runs everything out.
So Gary Gaetti, the batter. 7 of his 8 home runs have come at the Big A this year. Barfield misses ball 1.
Something that some people said the Angels were lacking in the past, leadership in the clubhouse. But with guys like Winfield, Parker, Gaetti, Lance Parrish, they have plenty of leadership. Gaetti says that his club right now is peaking. He says they aren't going to peak. They are peaking right now.
He felt very comfortable. He said, hey, the Texas Rangers, they have been on a streak. The Oakland A's, they won 8 in a row. The Minnesota Twins have been on the streak. We have not hit our hot time yet. And perhaps we will after the All-Star break. And hopefully at that time, we will be in first place. As pop foul, and it's 2 balls and 1 strike to Gary Gaetti.
Well, Mark Langston and Chuck Finley certainly give him a terrific 1-2 punch. Both of them have won 11 games. Jim Abbott has been pitching terrific baseball lately. They don't know when they're going to get Fernando back. He's been undergoing a battery of tests out here. He does have some kind of a cardiac problem. They don't seem to think it's terribly serious, but they want to make darn sure of it.
Parker at first base. Just misses off. 3 balls and 1 strike to Gary Gaetti.
Last year, Gaetti, 75% of the balls he put in play were to the left side of second. So you can bet with 3 balls and 1 strike, he's looking for a pitch to really turn on right here. He's not an opposite field hitter. He goes to jack it.
And they come inside, and he takes ball 4. So Gaetti moves to first. Dave Parker goes to second. And to the plate will come Lance Parrish. We understand that the fighters, Mike Tyson and Razor Runick, are just about ready to get into the ring in Las Vegas. Stay tuned, because we will be with Chris Myers all through tonight's ball game to bring you updates round by round of what's going on in Vegas with that big heavyweight bout. And here's a heavyweight himself, Lance Parrish.
Angels got a few heavyweights they can throw in there. They have 5 guys in the lineup tonight that have hit more than 30 home runs in a single season. That would be Parrish and Gaetti and Joyner and Winfield and Parker.
How about this? You use Parrish as your middle linebacker, Winfield and Parker as your blitzing outside linebackers. They're about 6'6", 250. They can play defensive end.
Well, both these teams got some good size. You don't want to see a melee in the middle of the diamond, because with the guys that big, somebody could get hurt.
I remember talking to Dave Parker, who had, this is like 1984, and all of the Cincinnati Reds, when he was playing for Cincinnati, had been hit by a pitch, except Dave. And I said, Dave, how come you haven't? And he goes, would you come inside to me?
Pretty good running back at Carter High School in Cincinnati before he messed up a knee.
You're right. He had over 150 letters from colleges all over the country who wanted him badly. Tore up his knee in the 5th game of the high school football season. And not only did the college football scouts say, well, we're not interested in this big guy, Dave Parker, but the pro baseball scouts, including the Cincinnati Reds, wavered on his ability.
Yeah, the Pirates took him in the 14th round. There's a few stories around it, guys who were late round draft choices.
There's a ground ball. Third baseman Buechele, he is the best in the American League, and he throws out Lance Parrish. But the Angels come up with 2 runs in the first to tie the game. The Rangers 2, the Angels 2. Steve Physioc and Dave Campbell at Anaheim Stadium in Anaheim, California. 2-2 ball game, and now we get a look at the best defense in the American League, the California Angels, and what a difference they've been from a year ago.
They really have. In 1989, they had a great defensive club. Last year, they finished 13th in the American League out of 14 teams. This year, they have gone 13 consecutive games, an all-time American League record without making an error. The Major League record is 15. We'll keep an eye on that tonight, but they've played terrific defense.
And Doug Rader really feels that a healthy Dick Schofield has been all the difference.
Last 2 years, Schofield has missed about 150 games, and he's a very solid shortstop. Not spectacular, but very solid.
The Rooster said he is the most underrated shortstop in the American League. And Schofield out there with a 2-2 ball game here in Anaheim, California.
You got to remember one thing, though, Steve. Every manager and all the pitchers, if they have a good shortstop, they all think their shortstop is the best. In Minnesota, they think Greg Gagne is the best. Abbott will try to get the ship rectified here. He was a little rocky in the first inning after getting the first 2 guys out.
And the first man he will face is Ivan Rodriguez. He is just 19 years old, youngest catcher to appear in a Major League game since Los Angeles Dodger Gilberto Reyes in 1983 at the age of 19 and 6 months. Abbott had a rough beginning. I mean, he got the first 2 guys out, Downing and Palmeiro, and then all of a sudden could not find the strike zone. 29 pitches in the first inning alone. Breaking ball misses, 2 balls and 1 strike, and that has been one of the pitches, along with the cut fastball, that has made him successful in May and June. He's been able to locate the strike zone and not in the middle of the plate. There's a ground ball, base hit back up the middle. The rookie Rodriguez is on to start the second.
Ivan's certainly not in awe of anything, and just another great player out of Puerto Rico for the Texas Rangers. They have 10 scouts in Latin America, and you look at the heart of this lineup with Sierra, who is from Puerto Rico. You have Franco from the Dominican Republic, Rodriguez from Puerto Rico, Gonzalez from Puerto Rico. They have some great Latin American players, and it's no secret they have a lot of scouts down there, and they're doing the job.
We get set for the number 9 man to bat. That's Gary Green. And Green is up because Mario Diaz, maybe the most consistent shortstop this year, broke a toe in a weird outfield accident in pregame on Wednesday. What happened, Dave, was that Green and rookie Dean Palmer were just goofing off in the outfield and crossed on a fly ball, and Palmer stepped on Diaz's toe. He broke the little toe, and they called up this fella Gary Green. Abbott comes home. There's the bunt. Abbott looks to second, goes to first, one gone. Sacrificed by Green.
Let's check the California defense, which has played so spectacularly of late. It'll be Gary Gaetti. He's won 4 Gold Gloves. The underrated Dick Schofield, Luis Sojo, and Wally Joyner, a fine fielder. Luis Polonia's had some problems defensively this year, but not lately. Dave Gallagher and Dave Winfield with Lance Parrish back in after a stint in the DL with a muscle problem in his right forearm. And Jim Abbott pitching for the Angels tonight.
And now a great ovation for the fellow who steps to the plate. Former California Angel Brian Downing. Sitting 282. He's been in a horrible slump of late. Hitting just 110 in his last 20 games. But this fella, first in the Angels' history in home runs, 222, first in RBIs, 846, first in hits, 1,588, games played, 1,661. And he was really disappointed the Angels did not re-sign him to start this year after he hit 14 home runs last year with 51 RBIs.
Well, he's known to the fans around here as Mr. Angel. He has done it. He has really struggled this month. He has the batting cage here in Yorba Linda, right outside of Anaheim, and he said he was going to spend a lot of time there today and see if he could get straightened out.
There's a breaking ball that misses the corner.
In fact, he came down here Monday, an off day for the Rangers. The club was in Oakland. He came down to the Anaheim area just so he could go into his backyard and work out at his own batting cage. Tuesday, he rifled a shot off Dave Stewart right off the wall in left field, but he says he's taking the batting cage with him back to Texas after this trip.
Changes speeds in the curve, and it's 3 balls and 1 strike. Runner at second base, that is Ivan Rodriguez, with 1 out. He has good speed. Fastball, pop foul. 3 balls and 2 strikes. And Downing was a guy who 2 weeks before the season began was ready to take his Harley Davidson to Nevada to go camping. He said, I'm out of baseball.
Yeah, the hair was a little longer. Brian had pretty much resigned himself. He said he did not lift a lot of weights this winter, but he had a terrific start, but he has been struggling in June.
The Tyson Ruddock fight has started, we understand, and we will bring you updates round by round with Chris Myers all through our baseball game. Abbott with the 3-2. Ground ball. Sojo throws out Downing, but to third base, Rodriguez. Luis Sojo, acquired from the Toronto Blue Jays in the offseason to help shore up that defense. It was dead last in the American League last year with 142 errors, but they are first in 1991. Only 35 errors. Johnny Ray was the second baseman, and Johnny was sure-handed, but he just had very, very little range, and they wanted to get somebody in there to cover some ground, and Sojo fits the bill. Abbott tries to sneak the fastball inside on Palmeiro. 1 ball, no strikes. One of the things they did here with the Angels, and I don't know how much influence it had, but they replaced the complete infield grass and put Bermuda grass in. They had Kentucky bluegrass before, and the infielders say it's a lot better surface to play on right now. They changed the surface down in Atlanta this year, too, and that was always one of the great potholes in the major leagues, and the Braves have been playing terrific defense this year.
And even though you can give some of the credit to Sid Bream and Terry Pendleton, some of it has to go to the groundskeeper. A little bit kicked up right there. The divot, probably when they fielded that bunt.
That's bad manners in golf.
Not replacing your divot?
Got that right. A 2-2 ball game at the Big A, the first of a 4-game series between Texas and California. Off speed, just catches the corner, and it's 2 balls and 2 strikes.
Abbott able to throw the breaking ball over. 2 balls, no strikes, 2 balls, 1 strike after missing with the fastball. And that's part of the maturity of Jim Abbott. When he first came out of the University of Michigan, fastball, hard slider, threw the fastball when he was behind in the count. Now he can get the other pitch over.
Misses the inside corner, runs the count full to 3-2.
Interesting. What will you look for here if you're a hitter? Now, he's missed 3 times with fastballs. He's throwing 2 sliders for strikes. I got to think slider on the hitter and try to at least chip the fastball off.
Rodriguez at third. And Palmeiro, base hit right field. Texas takes the lead 3-2 as Rodriguez checks in from third. Let's go to Chris Myers.
Thanks, Steve. Round 1 in the books, and Mike Tyson a slight advantage according to ESPN's unofficial scoring. We'll keep you up to date. Let's go back to Anaheim. Steve?
Thank you, Chris. Where the Rangers have taken a 3-2 advantage. They took the 2-0 lead in the first, but California came right back in the bottom of the first to tie things up, and now they've gone in front with 2 outs again. It's Ruben Sierra walked and scored on the double by Julio Franco. Breaking ball to Ruben. Now this club, up and down the lineup, is just brilliant against left-handed hitters. You take the lineup that Texas is showing tonight, the 9 hitters that are hitting a collective 326 versus left-handed pitching. And a big reason why is a group in Texas called the Three Amigos, and they are just eating up southpaws this year.
Franco, Sierra, Palmeiro, and actually they have 4 amigos, counting Juan Gonzalez and a 5th in Ivan Rodriguez. So they're going to be pretty soon. There's going to be 5 amigos.
Well, there's a drive to left field. Polonia is there to make the catch, but the Texas Rangers come up with a run to take the lead here in the second. 3-2 Rangers. Texas Rangers have their second lead of the ball game, 3-2 on the California Angels. It's Jim Adams against John Barfield. And this Sunday on ESPN, Oral Hershiser is on the mound for the Dodgers as they take on the surprising Atlanta Braves from Fulton County Stadium in Atlanta. That's this Sunday at 8 o'clock Eastern on ESPN. John Miller, Joe Morgan, and Joe Morgan makes network history. He is now broadcast. He will broadcast in every single major league ballpark. John Barfield had a rugged start in that first inning. You saw Abbott throwing 29 pitches, Barfield with 27. But at least 17 of his were strikes, 17 of Abbott's were balls. Swing and a miss as he starts Luis Sojo to start this bottom of the second. Let's check in with Chris Myers.
Steve, a decisive round 2 for Mike Tyson. He knocked Ruddock down on one knee with an overhand right. So the first 2 rounds are in Tyson's favor. Let's return now to Anaheim.
Surprised it's gone this far. The way Tyson was talking, I figured he was going to go after it right from the get-go.
I listened to a lot of sports shows driving to Anaheim today, but nobody said the fight would go more than 4 rounds.
The bunt by Sojo, pretty good one. Barfield, he has no play.
Well, Luis Sojo knows bunts. He has 11 sacrifice bunts this year, and he also knows how to drag bunt. Couldn't have thrown that one out there. He hit a high chopper off the plate, I believe. And by the time Barfield got it, you might as well forget it. Ball hits right off home plate and gets elevated. Barfield's really, his only chance was to let the ball go and hope maybe some crazy spin would take it foul, because he had no play at all on Sojo.
They wanted to see more players work on that part of their game.
Not part of the deal. You've got to stand back in batting practice and see how far you can hit it.
Sojo just hitting .223 coming in. And he can up his average, 20, 30 points by learning how to bunt. He's done just that.
Well, Dick Schofield knows bunts, too. He's a good sacrifice bunter. Let's see if Doug Rader has him bunting to get the man over to second.
No, he has him swinging away, but fouling it off.
Now, Steve, one thing about it, bunting is not one of the easier things to do. It may sound funny because a lot of people think a bunt is kind of a sissy play, but you need great courage to be a good bunter because you have to stick your nose over the plate. If you start shying away from the ball when that pitcher's delivering, you're never going to be a good bunter. And a lot of guys are afraid to put their nose over the plate. They feel kind of defenseless when they square around to bunt.
Soho doesn't have bad speed either. He's over at first base, but he has really struggled this year at reading the pitcher's moves.
That particular pitch, he was breaking back towards first base. You're better off taking a short lead and making sure it goes to the plate and then move up.
Again, he did not read the move by Barfield. The left-handed pitchers will tell you, if I can keep my move home and my move to first base consistent enough, then he can't go until I break that plane. Stretched out towards first base. Here's the 2-1. And Schofield to Franco. And he will get two.
Doug Rader puts the hit-and-run play on. Schofield hits a rocket, but they had the right man covering. They had Gary Green covering, the shortstop, figuring Schofield would swing late. The breaks of the game. Schofield hits it well. It's a double play, though.
Well, speaking of hit and running, we walk into the Texas clubhouse today. Bobby Valentine is there, and Bobby looks at Dave Campbell and he says, "Hey, Dave Campbell, we are going to hit and run from the very first inning." You got on him a little bit down in that Texas Yankee game a couple of Sundays ago.
Yeah, he and Stump Merrill, they played 15 innings in the last 6 after a tie game. Neither manager put a steal, a hit and run, or a bunt out. They just played station to station, wait for somebody to pound.
Well, after the leadoff bunt single by Soho, down goes California, and the Texas Rangers have a 3-2 lead as we head to the third.
In Las Vegas, Tyson and Ruddock, the rematch scheduled for 12. They're in the 4th round right now. Ruddock came to life in the 3rd round. He's been knocked down twice. He's up in the 4th round after getting knocked down for the 2nd time. We'll keep you updated. Let's go back to Anaheim with Steve and Dave.
Thank you, Chris. We're at Anaheim Stadium. It's the Rangers 3, the California Angels 2. Steve Physioc, Dave Campbell at the Big A in Anaheim, California. Holds 64,593, and they had the attendance record set 8.5 years ago. 64,406 showed for Game 1 of the American League Championship Series against the Milwaukee Brewers.
Well, on July 4th, they're entertaining here. All the reserve seats are gone, so they're going to have a big one. Fireworks here at Anaheim, so they're liable to pack the place on July the 4th. Kansas City trying to end their 6-game losing streak, and the A's are struggling.
Texas Rangers came off a 3-game sweep over the A's recently. And Franco will lead things off. It's a high fastball. Franco doubled in the first Texas run of the ball game, swept it down the right field line in Winfield by the time he got to it. Well, Sierra was rolling around third base. Play at the play. Ruben was there, and the ball bounced out of the glove of Lance Parrish.
Leo Franco, the guy with the stance you would most least likely want to try and copy, but this guy has been a 300 hitter 4 out of the last 5 years. Great clutch hitter. I don't know how he does it with the bat wrapped around his neck, but he gets it done.
And he also takes the bottom 2 fingers of his left hand and holds them over the knob.
MVP of the All-Star game last year, 2 RBIs. Double off from Rob Dibble gave the American League the 2-0 victory at Wrigley Field. The All-Star game coming up a week from this coming Tuesday.
Gets a good wrist snap. Mainly just using the right hand.
Got the inside-out swing, hits with excellent power to right field. Tough to defense. Got the overlap grip that golfers would call it.
Levitt has a count, 1 ball, 2 strikes. Foul on.
Check out how Julio does this. That bat cocked and kind of blocks off with the front arm. That allows him to hit with authority to the opposite field.
1-2. Off speed again. And again sprayed foul. Stays at 1 ball and 2 strikes. Let's go to Chris Myers.
Steve, they are through 4 rounds in Las Vegas. Mike Tyson wins the 4th round after knocking Ruddock down for the 2nd time. There has been some fighting after the bell, so we'll keep our eyes on this one. Also, Tyson has been warned twice for low blows. Steve?
The Oakland A's have already, well, they play later tonight, but the Minnesota Twins in first place in the American League West have already lost, and Texas has a 3-2 lead on California. And Franco with a looping fly ball into shallow left center field. It drops for a base hit.
Well, again, Julio Franco with power to the opposite field. Gallagher was playing him to right center. Perfectly placed between Schofield, Polonia, and Gallagher. Nobody could get to it. Julio kept battling. Didn't hit it all that well. He got hit on the handle, but see Schofield going out. Gallagher not in the picture yet because he was in right center, but just drops the parachute and lead single here in the top of the 3rd for Julio Franco.
And here's Juan Gonzalez.
Makes so much out of the fact that Ivan Rodriguez, brilliant young catcher of the Texas Rangers, is only 19. Juan Gonzalez only 21. And he's had some terrific numbers. The reason he was not going to be the Rookie of the Year in the American League this year is he had 150 at-bats last year, which was the exact cutoff point, so he can't be a rookie this year. If he'd had 149, he'd have been eligible. 150 exactly.
Yeah, when they spotted him, Texas Rangers were in a bid with the Toronto Blue Jays for his services, and Juan basically said, I wanted to go to a last-place club. I wanted to see and appear on a team that I knew was going to build and I could grow it. And now at the age of 21, he is a starting center fielder for the Texas Rangers. Robbie Valentine, as skipper, says, I just want Juan to be a star, but remember, he's only 21. Give him time. I want him right now to just be a contributor. There's Bobby, former outfielder for the California Angels in shortstop.
Well,
in the early 70s.
Yeah, we hear so much about Sierra now and Franco. Gonzalez has 50 RBIs. He's in the top 6 in the American League.
Gonzalez, base hit left field. Franco turns at second. He'll hold there as Polonia quickly up with the baseball.
Jim Abbott came into this game tonight 3-0 lifetime with an ERA under 3 against the Rangers, but Texas looks like they're starting to tee off on him. That's 6 base hits off the young left-hander.
Yeah, he gave up 246 hits last year. That was the most in the major leagues, and he started off in terrible fashion. There are many who thought he should be sent down to the minor leagues, and Abbott protested, saying, hey, I will accept the challenge. Last 9 games he certainly did, going 5-1 with a 2.16 earned run average.
Well, Abbott also said, after the phone call has been made by Marcel Latchman down to the bullpen, but Abbott said, if I'm the last person on earth that continues to believe in myself, I will be it. Other people can kind of cast me off. But he kept the faith when things were going bad in the early part of the season. 28 balls, 29 strikes. Not a good ratio for Abbott. He's been getting behind in the count and having to come in, and that's when the Rangers have been teeing off.
He's really working that cut fastball down on the right-handers, and Ken Brett, who's a broadcaster for the Angels, former pitcher in the American League, National League, all over baseball. He's saying that cut fastball has broken a lot of bats this year, and he's trying to work it on the rookie, Dean Palmer, who walked his first time up.
One of the problems with Abbott's cut fastball tonight is he's had it up, and the Rangers have 2 of their hits on jam jobs just over the infield. When you get that ball down, then if you hit them on the fist, they hit ground balls. You elevate the ball for them, then they flare it over the infield.
Abbott steps off. Dean Palmer, 2 for 4 yesterday in the 9-6 Rangers win over the Oakland A's, and he hit his first major league home run. 6th inning off Rick Honeycutt. And he drives one to left field. Luis Polonia went back, now comes in, makes the catch, tagging is Franco, but he will stop and go back. Let's go to Chris Myers on the fight.
Steve, they're through 5 rounds in Las Vegas. Mike Tyson winning by a 10-9 score. ESPN's unofficial count, we, after further review, gave Tyson round 4 10-8. So he has won 4 of the first 5 rounds. We'll keep you updated. Back to Anaheim,
where we have a Texas 3-2 lead over the California Angels.
A lot of times I criticize Major League outfielders for not getting behind the ball and running up to meet it when they have to make a throw. Luis Polonia did that play exactly right. He got behind it, came up to meet it. Louis doesn't have a great arm, but he compensates by getting in a good throwing position.
So with runners in first and second, now one out, Buechele. This one to right field. Franco, I thought he might tag on this one. Will not test the arm of Dave Winfield.
That is always a good idea, not to test Winfield's arm. Dave doesn't have the throwing strength that he once did, but it's still a very respectable arm. And you don't want to make the third out at third base. Had that been nobody out in that fly ball going to right, Franco might have tested it, trying to get to third base with 1 out where he could score on the sacrifice fly.
Boy, he's having a year, isn't he? He's not made an error this year in 107 chances. Here's the other rookie, smiling, Ivan Rodriguez. What a great story. He's getting ready to get married on the pitching mound down at AA in Tulsa. And they call him up, what was it, 2 days before his marriage? And he had a decision to make. And Tom Grieve, the general manager of the Rangers, said, well, we'll give you a decision. You can either get married or you can be called up and play Major League Baseball. Talked to his fiance and said, honey, I really want to play ball. Here's Joe Graves warming in the Angels bullpen as Abbott continues to struggle. And Rodriguez, well, you see where he is. His wife says, I understand, or his fiance, I should say. Off-speed, pretty pitch.
Well, the version I heard was that he got married anyway at 8:30 in the morning there in Tulsa, and then he and his bride got on a plane and went to Chicago, and he played that night. Tony Perez-Chica, an infielder for the San Francisco Giants, same thing happened to him. He and his buddies were all over in Las Vegas. He plays for Phoenix. They were all set. Tony was going to get married in Vegas, and all of a sudden the Giants said, whoop, we need you to the big leagues. So Tony says, check on you.
There's a ground ball. Right field side. Luis Sojo throws out Rodriguez. And down go the Rangers. They come up with 2 hits but can't score.
Razor Ruddock is lasting longer than many thought he would against Mike Tyson in Las Vegas. Right now they're in the 7th round. Tyson has won 5 of the first 6 rounds. Ruddock has been knocked down twice, but Tyson has been unable to finish him off. We will keep you updated on the fight. Let's return to Steve Physioc and Dave Campbell.
Thank you, Chris. Where Texas has a 3-2 lead in the California Angels. We enter the bottom of the 3rd. It will be Dave Gallagher, Wally Joyner, Dave Winfield to face John Barfield. And this Sunday on ESPN, it's Oral Hershiser who will make another start as he takes on the Atlanta Braves at Fulton County Stadium. That's 8 o'clock Eastern Time, Sunday on ESPN. Hershiser got bounced around in his last start against the San Francisco Giants.
Dodgers getting a little nicked up besides Strawberry and Jeff Hamilton on the DL. Jay Howell just went on with an elbow problem. Today it hurt him. First game of that doubleheader down in Atlanta. The Braves ended up having to let Kent Merker hit with the bases loaded in the bottom of the 12th, and Jim Gott walked in the winning run.
Dave Gallagher struck out swinging his first time up. He pulled a fast one, the California Angels, before the season began. They give you a little flyer and have you fill it out. Gallagher was explaining his career not only in baseball but away from baseball. Gallagher fouls it off, and the count evens at 1 ball and 1 strike. And he put down that he was the inventor of the stride tutor, which was true. But he also said that he was selected to the New Jersey Inventors Hall of Fame, which was not true. Tries to bunt his way on and rolls it foul. 1 ball, 2 strikes.
There's a few suckers like us that would probably relay that information. We pretty much, if we read it, we believe it.
We believe the Rick Cerrone story.
No, I didn't. You did.
Now, wait a second.
That wasn't me. I wasn't in on that one. It's too long to go into anyway.
His wife even believed it. Called Rick and said, why aren't you telling me about this being elected to the New Jersey Hall of Fame?
Seton Hall Hall of Fame.
Seton Hall Hall of Fame. And Dave Gallagher. Last year played with the White Sox, played with the Baltimore Orioles. Stays at 1-2.
The wave is not dead in California. They had an earthquake here today. Pasadena registered over 6 on the Richter scale. But they are still waving here. Better the fans wave here than the stands starting to wave.
Gallagher down the line, past Buechele, into the corner. Gallagher with the turn at first base. He's into second with a stand-up double.
Barfield comes with a slider that doesn't slide on the inner half. Buechele, hoping the ball would come up a little better. Couldn't get it. Bobby Valentine out to talk to John Barfield now. Don't know exactly what this situation is about with Valentine. He may have been talking about location to Gallagher.
Let's go to Chris Myers and an update with the fight.
All right, Steve, after 7 rounds, Razor Ruddock showing some life, winning that 7th round. ESPN unofficially has Tyson leading 68-63 after 7 rounds in our scoring system. Ruddock surviving in this one. We will keep you updated throughout the ballgame. Let's return now to Steve and Dave in Anaheim.
Yeah, that referee is going to be very cautious on how soon he calls that fight. Ruddock fought the last fight earlier this year. Should have gone on a little further. Here in Anaheim, California, the Angels have the tying run at second base. Nobody out, bottom of the 3rd inning, and Wally Joyner, the batter. Doubled his first time, drove in a run. Tries to lay the bunt down. It's a nice one. Barfield up. And Joyner is safe at first base. Barfield really taking his time.
A matter of Barfield maybe having a little bit too much poise and miscalculating the speed of Wally Joyner. I think if we were playing football, Barfield would get a 5-yard penalty for delay a game. He comes out, gets the ball. He's got plenty of time, but he takes way too much and looks at third, just kind of cruises to first base, and not in time. Joyner gets there, and John Barfield made a mistake there. Let's see if it costs his club.
Wally with a pair of hits and an 11-game hit streak where he's hitting over 360 in that stretch. And it's seeing him up his average, up over the 320 mark. And here's Dave Winfield. Reached on the air by Gary Green his first time up.
One thing Dave's really done over the years is make a lot of adjustments. We've talked about it. He's gotten further from the plate, something that Mike Schmidt did the second half of his career. Schmidt got even further off the plate and dove in more.
Fastball stays high. As a matter of fact, when he was with the New York Yankees last year, and at the time of the trade, he was only hitting 213, and Darren Johnson said, why don't you back off? Because you have the wingspan of a 747, use it. And he did, and then he got the inside pitch and could still extend his arms. Fouls it off 2-1.
Well, one of the things that happens is you get older, you lose a little bit of quickness with that bat on the inside. So what you do is get off the plate. Anything that's going to tie you up inside is going to be a ball anyway. And as you mentioned, with that tremendous arm length and reach that Winfield has, he can handle the pitch out away from him.
Dave Gallagher on third. He doubled to start the inning. Wally Joyner at first. He bunted him over and reached first base safely. So runners in the corners, nobody out. And the count to Dave Winfield, 2 balls, 1 strike.
Well, with some hitters, a 2-1 count in this situation might be a hit and run, not with Winfield. Winfield's the kind of guy, until you get 2 strikes on him, if you're the manager, Doug Rader, you want him to have the ability to pick a pitch that he can drive. You don't want to put him under pressure to have to put the ball in play on a hit and run. Those are for the contact hitters that don't have the big power.
392 home runs. That's 24th all time. Al Kaline, the next player he's got to catch, and Al had 399. John Barfield in a scary situation. He is 470 pounds of Daves, going 1-2 with runners at first and third. Winfield and then Parker, the 2-2. 3 balls and 2 strikes. Let's go to Chris Myers.
Steve, Razor Ruddock thought their first meeting was called too soon. He has taken Tyson through 8 rounds. The last round, ESPN unofficially scores the 8th as even, but Tyson leads. We'll keep you up to date.
Thank you, Chris. Still bottom of the third, 3-2 ball game. Texas has the advantage. Runners in first and third. And Winfield down the line. This will tie the game. In comes Gallagher. They will hold Wally Joyner at third base. Dave, that's exactly what you were talking about. Last year when with the Yankees, if he's up on the home plate, he can't get and pull that pitch that well.
Yeah, that ball might tie him up inside, but you see a pitch on the inner half of the plate, he still gets full extension. Buechele has no shot at it. Palmer plays it a little cautiously. Again, Dean Palmer has only played 1 game in left field in his baseball career, professional career before coming here, so he didn't really attack that ball defensively.
So Winfield at second. Joyner at third. A tie ball game with Texas and the Angels, and stepping up to the plate, Winfield's Dave partner, Mr. Parker. And just like his first time, he tries the breaking stuff on the outside corner and tries to get Parker to chase it, but this time he stays away. It's 1 ball, no strikes.
Now, Parker's seen the spin on that breaking ball now. Not as apt to chase as badly as he did his first time up.
Into left field, Palmer will make the catch. Joyner tags. Palmer will throw it back to the infield, and California has their first lead of the game, 4-3.
Parker doesn't have a hit, but he does have 2 RBIs. Hit a ground ball first time up that played it a run. This time sacrifice fly. Joyner, nice bunt. Barfield misplayed it, so the misplay by Barfield has hurt him in the inning.
Then here comes Gary Gaetti. Walked his first time up.
And with Bobby Valentine making the second trip to the mound in the inning, that is adios for John Barfield. Valentine has seen enough, and he's probably going to want a right-hander to come in and face Gaetti.
And this is really Barfield's worst performance of the year as a starter. I mean, in the last 3 games, he's been brilliant. Against Chicago, he went 6 2/3. Against Kansas City, 7. Against the White Sox, again, 7 2/3. But tonight, he doesn't get out of the third.
ESPN Major League Baseball is brought to you by Michelob Dry. Once you experience the bold taste with no aftertaste, there's no going back. By Olympus, never miss another O. And by Desinex, if you don't know the score, don't blame Desinex.
Steve Physioc, Dave Campbell at the Big A in Anaheim, California. The Angels with their first lead of the game. And with 1 out and Dave Winfield at second base, the new pitcher is Calvin Schiraldi. And this year, Calvin 0-1 with a .675 earned run average. He was acquired from Houston on June 20th and lost in the Rangers' debut on June 21st at Chicago. 1 1/3. And he will start with Winfield at second base. And after Dave Parker's sacrifice fly, the batter's Gary Gaetti.
Gaetti will go after the first pitch. A couple of weeks ago, they had a graph in Sports Illustrated that showed him the most aggressive hitter in baseball at going after the first pitch 51% of the time.
Almost gets away from the catch, but Rodriguez scoops it up. Let's check in with Chris Myers on the fight.
Steve, they're in the 10th round. In round 8, won by Tyson, Ruddock had a point taken away because he punched after the bell sounded. Ruddock won the 9th round. Tyson had a point deducted because of a low blow. So Tyson is in control, but Ruddock, it looks like he's taking him the distance. We'll keep you up to date.
Thank you, Chris. Here in Anaheim, Angels up 4-3. Gary Gaetti has the count, 1 ball, no strikes.
I mentioned Gaetti's aggressive nature at the plate. He only has 8 walks this year in 267 plate appearances. That's once every 34 times. So Gary Gaetti goes up to Hack.
Goes after the high fastball and fouls it off. 1 ball, 1 strike.
Gaetti never met a fastball he didn't like. Gary 200 plus. Gary 200 plus home runs in his career. Angels as a team are hitting .301 with men in scoring position, and that's another reason they're having a successful year. Angels the previous 2 years were noted as the team that always left the most men on bases. They're not doing that this year.
Breaking ball. Gets away from Rodriguez, but Winfield will not move from second base.
Dave, usually a very good base runner. You see him shaking his head out there. He started back to the bag a little bit too soon, and that's what a great throwing catcher can do. Now watch Winfield. If he stays in the corner of the screen, well, he just goes out. But you see him moving back towards the bag. Now it's too late. Guys like Johnny Bench turned a lot of aggressive base runners into safety first. And Winfield knows that Rodriguez can throw. He didn't want to stray too far off second base. And Rodriguez hustled back for the ball.
Fastball. Catches the corner. 2 balls and 2 strikes. When Dave Campbell walked into the clubhouse today, first looked at Jim Sundberg, who was one of the best defensive catchers of all time, and he said, Rodriguez has his arm, and he goes, he has a gun. And the look in Sonny's eyes, you knew Rodriguez is something special.
Jim Sundberg, one of the broadcasters for the Texas Rangers, and he said this young man has a great career.
Gaetti pops it up. Left field. Winfield's not going anywhere, and Palmer makes the catch. 2 outs.
That's the old just miss. Of course, now Winfield's probably thinking, if I'd have been on third base like I should have been when that ball got past Rodriguez, that probably was deep enough to score me. Little things. Base running. This is the pitch that Gaetti will see in his sleep tonight. That was right down the middle, and Gary just a tad late getting to it.
So now with 2 outs, responsibility rests with Lance Parrish. Grounded out to third his first time up. Lance Parrish coming off of the disabled list. Earlier this week, he had a little tightness in his right forearm. Giraldi just replaced John Barfield. Breaking ball. Let's go to Chris Myers.
Steve, they are in round 11. Ruddock has won the last 2 rounds. Tyson has had a point deducted in each of those rounds for a low blow. Look at how close this is. ESPN's unofficial scoring has Tyson leading 95-92. We'll keep you informed.
Thank you, Chris. And here's the 1-0 pitch to Lance Parrish. And he fouls it off. And I was hoping Chris might editorialize a little bit. Tell us who's getting the blows in, who's getting the advantage.
Who said Tyson's winning?
I wanted to, you know.
Just dial up and put pay-per-view on our monitors here. Only cost you $34.95 for the last 2 rounds.
The count 1 ball, 1 strike. California with a 4-3 lead on the Rangers. Breaking ball. Catches the corner. 1-2.
Calvin Giraldi, one time thought to be one of the great-looking young pitchers in baseball, has really struggled the last 2 or 3 years. With the Mets, with the Red Sox, of course, right in the center of all that brouhaha in '86, the playoffs between the Red Sox and the Angels, and then that great World Series between the Mets and the Red Sox.
Throws low. 2 balls and 2 strikes. Ugly memories. Game 6 of that '86 World Series. 1 strike away of giving the Boston Red Sox their first World Championship since 1918, but he could not get that final strike across and struggled in Game 7, and the Mets won the World Series. Here's the 2-2. Parrish, ground ball, Buechele, backhands, and throws out Lance. But California comes up with 2 in the 3rd to take the lead.
The fighters are in action in the 12th round. Razor Ruddock has won the last 3 rounds, unofficially scored by ESPN. During the break before the 12th round, Tyson's trainer pleaded with him to do something. Look at how close the scoring is. Tyson 104-102 with 1 round to go. We'll keep you up to date.
4-3, Angels lead, top of the fourth. Gary Green will lead things off for Texas. He'll be followed by Brian Downing and then Rafael Palmeiro. Fourth inning of work for Jim Abbott, who struggled in the first 2 innings and even struggled in the third, putting the first 2 men on base, Franco Gonzalez. And Joe Gray was warming the bullpen, but then he pushed aside Palmer, Buechele, and Rodriguez, and now the bullpen is quiet. No balls and 2 strikes to Gary Green.
Through the first 6 half innings in this game, the leadoff man has been on 5 times. When that happens, pitchers generally get in trouble. Both of them, Barfield, the starter for Texas, and Abbott, have been in plenty of trouble tonight.
So, 1 ball and 2 strikes. And Abbott coming off one of his best games of the year, at least to start that game, with 6 2/3 no-hit innings before he got a no decision in California's 4-3 10-inning setback to Detroit, June 23rd. That was at Tiger Stadium. By Green, stays at 1 ball, 2 strikes. And the man who broke up that no-hitter, Cecil Fielder. Green, former first-round draft choice of the San Diego Padres. They love his defense, but his bat has never really come around.
One interesting footnote on both Gary Green and Dick Schofield, the opposing shortstops tonight. Both of their dads played for the Pittsburgh Pirates in their 1960 World Championship year. Dick Schofield's dad, Ducky Schofield, and Gary Green's dad, Fred Green, was a left-handed pitcher for the Pirates that year. Gave up a real long homer to Mickey Mantle in that World Series. But both dads, I'm sure, are very proud of their sons.
Ruben Sierra talking with the young rookie Ivan Rodriguez, barely 19 years old. And Sierra's only 25. He's just about ready to take over the all-time Texas Ranger RBI lead. Green strikes out, and Abbott has his 2nd of the game. For the first time this fella stepped to the plate, it was his homecoming. This was the Rangers' first game this year against the California Angels. And look at Downing's career with the California Angels before he left and signed as a free agent with Texas in the offseason. Home runs, RBIs, hits and runs. All-time Angel leader. Well loved here at Anaheim Stadium.
One of the knocks on the Angels was the fact that both Downing and Chili Davis, a couple of guys who had been very special to this club, just felt that they weren't treated very well by the club. Just kind of turned out the pasture with no goodbyes, no thank yous, no nothing.
With 1 out, here's the 1-0 pitch to Brian Downing. Stays high, 2 balls, no strikes. What's going on in the fight, Chris?
Well, Steve, they have completed all 12 rounds of action. ESPN unofficially scoring Tyson a winner, 114-111, 2 knockdowns. Ruddock went down twice. We'll tell you the official announcement coming up.
But closer than we thought, Chris. Ruddock wasn't expected to make it through 4. He went all 12. And here in Anaheim, California, the Angels with a 4-3 lead on Brian Downing and the Texas Rangers. Top of the 4th inning. Goes after the high heat. 2 balls, 2 strikes.
Yeah, but those guys forgot the immortal words of Joaquin Andujar.
You never know.
You never know. You never know.
Ball. Well, Downing was just 1 of 3 that got away. Donnie Bichette was traded for Dave Parker. Chili Davis having a monster year for the Minnesota Twins.
You know, you look at those numbers and they're tremendously impressive, but the bottom line is the Angels are having a much better year this year because of 2 things: pitching and great defense. Hitting's important, but sometimes the least of the 3.
Downing slugs it to Abbott, who will run him down, tag him out, and there's 2 outs in this 4th. So after a rugged beginning, Jim Abbott has erased the last 5 Rangers that he's faced.
Downing in the throes of an 8 for 71. And you know, as a hitter, when you're in that kind of a slump, you just hate not to get a cut. But Brian's still hustling, and the great pros, we've seen Winfield and Parker, Downing, all 40 or near 40 hustling, and that's got to be a great inspiration to the younger players in the team. They just can't afford to let up because the vets will just kind of grab them by the throat and say, we don't do that around here.
2 outs. Here's Rafael Palmeiro. Rafi has always done well against Jim Abbott in his career. Matter of fact, the next 3 who will face Jim Abbott have really jumped all over Jim. And Rafael takes one down the line and deep. Polonia will watch it go foul. Palmeiro, Sierra, and Franco in their career against Abbott are hitting .436 in this ball game. They're 3 for 5, and they've done most of the damage against Jim, even though he's up 4-3.
Well, 3 of the 5 amigos. Palmeiro, Sierra, Franco. Gonzalez has a couple of RBIs in this game tonight.
The 0-2 pitch. Messes with the breaking ball. That's 1 ball, 2 strikes.
Palmeiro's been a little bit of an RBI slump. That base hit he got last time up to drive in a run was just his 6th in his last 33 games, and 3 of them came on solo homers. So I'm sure Rafi was happy to plate a run with a single.
Waves at the offering by Abbott and strikes out. He gets 2 strikeouts in the inning. Now has 3 in the game. Angels are up 4-3. California's a 4-3 lead of the Texas Rangers. Nobody out. Luis Sojo on first base. He is 2 for 2. A single in the 2nd inning, and now a single to start the 4th. Nobody out. Dick Schofield is at the plate. He has a count to a 1-0. And bunch, first base side. Palmeiro's only play first. Gets Schofield, but at second base, Luis Sojo.
Well, Doug Rader did not bunt Schofield last time when the Angels were trailing by 1. Started the runner instead, and Schofield lined into a double play. This time up by 1, would like to extend that lead to 2 runs as Schofield, and he and Soho are excellent bunters. Doug playing a little baseball. 3-4 on the sacrifice bunt. Soho down to second.
California Angels came into this ball game with a record of 40-31, second in the American League West, 3 games back of Minnesota. The Twins have already lost tonight to the Chicago White Sox. So if California can beat the Rangers, they'll be within 2 games of first place. And Luis Polonia takes strike 1.
Talked about Soho being a good leadoff man for the Angels, but he also is 4th on the club in RBIs. He had 10 on the last road trip, has 31, and you see what he's doing with men in scoring position. That's a bonus for the Angels because they know he can get on base. This is just great for Polonia and the Angels.
Soho at second. Calvin Schiraldi with the 0-1 pitch. Luis fouls it off. He's in the hole. No balls and 2 strikes. And Dave, I asked Darren Johnson, who is the Angel who has been most important to your offense this year? And, you know, guys like Winfield and Joyner having outstanding seasons. Darren Johnson said it's Polonia. I mean, he is making everybody nervous, and it's Joyner, Parker, Winfield, who are seeing a lot of fastballs when he's on base.
Well, you can't drive men on if nobody's there unless you hit solo homers. And Luis Polonia has been helping set the table.
Way outside, 1 ball and 2 strikes. How good a setup man is he? Ooh, 45 runs, 85 hits, 27 stolen bases. That's tied with Ricky Henderson for the American League lead.
5 triples, just 1 behind Paul Molitor. So Luis Polonia doing it. Still getting a few scattered boos here. Once in a while, he'll have a defensive lapse.
There's the opposite field, but Buechele cuts it off and throws out Luis, and holding at second base is Soho.
Good job of pitching by Schiraldi that time. The defense was playing Polonia way around. Louis will go to the opposite field a lot, but the idea was to pitch him away and play him that way, and Schiraldi kept the ball out away from Polonia. So
now with 2 outs, Soho at second base. The batter is Dave Gallagher, 1 for 2. He doubled his last time, came around to score on the single by Dave Winfield, or the double, excuse me.
Junior Felix on the DL right now with a calf problem, so Gallagher has played in 8 of the last 10 games in center field.
Fastball stays high. 1 ball, no strikes. Kansas City beating up Oakland tonight, 11-0 in the 5th inning. A's in danger of losing their 4th in a row.
That was Bob Welch today, wasn't it?
Stays high. 2 balls, no strikes. I mean, there are people around Major League Baseball are saying, hey, the Texas Rangers win 14 games in a row in the middle of May, and yet they only lead the Oakland A's by a half game. Now it seems like the A's have hit their skid. 2-0 pitch. 3 balls, no strikes.
Amazing thing is that the A's did it with a complete patchwork pitching staff lineup for about 2.5 months. Now they get guys like Honeycutt, Gene Nelson, Todd Burns back. They get the rest of their club healthy, with the exception of Walt Weiss, who's down and maybe out for the season. But now the A's are really struggling.
Gallagher takes it right down the middle, 3 balls and no strikes. And Bobby Valentine talked about that streak. He said, hey, this is just the swimsuit competition. If we look good right now, you know, it's not necessarily going to hold. And it did not. As a matter of fact, after that 14-game win streak, Bob Valentine's club lost 11 of the next 12 before righting themselves, and now they're playing some pretty good baseball.
Well, the key example, of course, is the 1916 New York Giants. They had 2 winning streaks of 26 and 17 games. That means they were 43-0 in their 2 winning streaks. The rest of the year, they were 43 and 66. They finished 4th.
Gallagher down the line. It will twist and go foul. Well, this Sunday, IMSA GTV racing from Watkins Glen. Chip Robinson, Davy Jones, and Jeff Brabham are battling for the points championship, and you'll see live coverage at Camel Continental Sunday at 1 o'clock Eastern on ESPN. Gallagher's the count full, 3 balls, 2 strikes. Angels up 4-3. Bottom of the 4th inning. Giraldi throws low. Ball 4. So Gallagher is on for the 2nd time tonight. And now with runners at 1st and 2nd, here comes Wally Joyner's 2 for 2.
Well, last time Wally was up, the fans began the Wally, Wally chant. Let's see if here it comes. He's their guy this year. Last year, Joyner had the knee problem, stress fracture. He was out from June 9th on. That did not help the Angel cause either.
Only had 8 home runs and 41 RBIs last year. This year he has 9 home runs and 46 RBIs. All kinds of trade talk and spring training, but not anymore. He had a fine-looking first baseman in the minor leagues, and Lee Stevens, who was up for a while last year. Fastball, misses low, 2 balls, no strikes.
Well, there were rumors flying around, but there's always rumors flying around in baseball. Joyner for Bonilla, both of them in the last year of their contracts, eligible for free agency after this season.
Fouls it off. 2 balls, 1 strike. Mike Tyson won the heavyweight championship fight with Razor Ruddock tonight in Las Vegas. We will be going back to Vegas with Charlie Steiner with an update. We saw visuals of that fight earlier. He will have interviews and the like throughout this ball game. Joyner fouls it off again. 2 balls and 2 strikes with 2 outs in the 4th inning. Angels up by a run on the Rangers, 4-3. Here's a 2-2.
Chill Deuces Wild trick. 2 balls, 2 strikes, 2 out, 2 on. If we only had to score 2-2 in the second, we'd be perfect. But it's 4-3. California leading here in the fourth.
Wally Joyner doubled his first time up to drive in the first California run. He came around to score on the Dave Parker ground out. And reached on a bunt single in the third. So his average right now at 325. Fouls it off. Joyner really prepared himself well in the offseason. He knew all about Lee Stevens, their first-round draft choice from Kansas University. Very impressive in his debut, although struggled in the month of September last year. Going to rehab the knee, and he's come back strong. Calvin Schiraldi with a 2-2 pitch.
I think Calvin did a little studying at the Jeff Gray School of taking a lot of time. Larry Bird's favorite player, Jeff Gray, he says he loves the Red Sox except when Jeff Gray comes in and he shuts it off. Saw one of the New York columnists, I wish I could remember his name, I'd give him credit, had a great line. He said if Jeff Gray pitched in New York would no longer be the city that doesn't sleep. Jeff Gray would put him to sleep.
4 straight foul-offs by Joyner. Here's the 2-2. That's 5 in a row. Soho backs up at second base. Good duel between Calvin Schiraldi and Wally Joyner, with Soho potentially run number 5.
The good hitters are able to foul off the good pitchers' pitches. Right now, Joyner getting to measure Schiraldi. Pitcher always has the advantage because hitters, even when they're good, only make hits 3 out of 10 times. But the longer Joyner sees Schiraldi, the better his odds are of hitting the ball hard somewhere.
Inning started with Soho singling. Schofield sacrificed him over. Polonia grounded out. Gallagher walked. And Wally down the line.
Joyner had a great at-bat earlier this season. Wally was in the throes of a 15-game, not the throes, he was exalted with a 15-game hitting streak. Tie game in Baltimore. Mike Flanagan, a great veteran, and Wally Joyner went 13 pitches, and Joyner finally got the game-winning hit. And again, a guy like this who's seen the ball well now, Schiraldi's really going to have to make a pitch to get him out.
Soho at second. Gallagher first base. 2 outs. Takes it low. 3 balls and 2 strikes.
Schiraldi threw a fork ball, tried to turn it over. Wally was having pretty good cuts at the fastball. Former manager of the Texas Rangers, even though Doug probably says, hey, that's in the past, don't think that they don't like to beat the clubs that fired them.
There was 1 ball, but since the count went to 2-2, he has fouled off 7 and 1 out of the strike zone. So Calvin Schiraldi with a particularly fine piece of pitching for Wally Joyner, but he is timing a little better each pitch. And there's a drive to deep right field. Back to the wall goes Sierra. It's gone. Homer by Wally Joyner, and California now has a 7-3 lead.
Well, Schiraldi kept playing country hardball with Wally Joyner, and he catches up, and Wally knows he's got it. He's hit enough here in batting practice and in the games. That's 385 feet, and the Angels out to a 7-3 lead as Wally Joyner stays hot.
He only had 8 home runs all last year, and that was number 10. And we're still in June, and the Angels are driving on the Minnesota Twins, who have already lost tonight to the Chicago White Sox. California started the night 3 back. John Barfield got the start for Texas. Now it's Calvin Schiraldi, and both have struggled. And Dave Winfield left field, and that one is gone. Ball game, and Dave Winfield, who did not hit his 15th home run until August 21st last year against the Oakland A's, here on June 28th has hit his 15th home run.
Welcome to ESPN's Home Run Derby, and the only question was whether it would stay fair. It was fair by about 10 feet. He hit that ball well over 400.
So Joyner and Winfield go back-to-back. Dave Parker has a count, 1 ball, no strikes.
Microcosm of Calvin Schiraldi the last 3 or 4 years. He still has good stuff, but when he has to make a pitch, he just can't seem to get the job done. You see the arm, he's got good velocity, decent curveball, but he just can't seem to locate the ball consistently. He puts one mistake in there per hitter, and they don't miss very often.
2 balls and 1 strike. Parker reaches out, dumps it over to Palmeiro. He throws to Calvin Schiraldi, and that will do it for the California Angels. But they come up with 4 runs, 3 on the home run by Wally Joyner. Thank you, Chris. Steve Physioc, Dave Campbell at the Big A in Anaheim, California, where the Angels lead the Texas Rangers 8-3 as we head to the bottom of the 5th inning. Jim Abbott has really smoothed things out after a first struggle in the 1st and 2nd. 4th inning, this was Wally Joyner. He fouled 7 back, 7 straight, Dave Campbell, and then he was getting his measure on Calvin Schiraldi.
Everything Schiraldi threw up: fastballs, sliders, forkballs, fastballs, up, slider, foul, and foul on the fastball, and then the high fastball, and Wally tuned it up, turned it up the dial a little bit, hit the same pitch that he had fouled off about 5 times, but he kept measuring, turned up the dial on the bat. That is the big blow in the ball game.
3 hits, 3 runs scored, 4 RBIs in the night, and he is your star. He's got now 50 RBIs on the year, 10 home runs, and he has given the Angels a 5-run cushion on the Texas Rangers. Calvin Schiraldi to start the bottom of the 5th will work with Gary Gaetti, Lance Parrish, and Luis Sojo. Fastball fouled off by Gary. Gaetti coming over from the Minnesota Twins in the offseason, signing that big free agent contract. Then he saw the Twins jump to the forefront in the American League West. Their pitching is marvelous this year, but saying, hey, I have no regrets. I like the club I'm with. I think the Twins have done a great job. He chases the off-speed, and he's behind the count, no balls and 2 strikes. And he even paid a tribute today by saying Chili Davis has just been a great addition. Without him, I'm not sure if they'd be in first place. That was a terrific selection.
Last year, the Twins only got 8 home runs and 64 RBIs out of the DH spot. That was the lowest in the American League. Chili this year, 18 homers, 50 RBIs already.
Gaetti to right field. Sierra in a couple of steps, makes the catch, and there's 1 gone.
Meanwhile, in the top half of the 5th inning that you missed when we were away covering the fight, a walk to Ruben Sierra, but quickly erased a double play ball. Julio Franco bounced into it. Gonzalez bounced out, so Jim Abbott has really settled in after being rocky in the first couple. Abbott has retired 8 of the last 9.
And Schiraldi starts out Lance Parrish. Ball 1. Lance both times grounding out to the third baseman, Steve Buechele. Back of the middle. Gary Green juggles it, but throws out Lance. 2 gone. Well, this Sunday on ESPN, Oral Hershiser. He is healthy again, pitching well, beat by the San Francisco Giants earlier this week, but he'll take on the Atlanta Braves at Fulton County Stadium. That's Sunday night, 8 o'clock Eastern Time on ESPN. Here tonight at Anaheim Stadium, 2 outs for the California Angels in the bottom of the 5th. An 8-3 California lead. Giraldi starts off Luis Sojo with strike 1.
First inning that the Angels have not had their leadoff man on. Again, when you get the leadoff man on, you're in trouble. Stats show they score 44% of the time. Tonight, scored in the 1st, the 3rd, and the 4th. That's 75% of the time the leadoff man has gotten on and scored.
Sojo, 2 for 2. His average right now at 233. Breaking ball. 1 ball, 2 strikes. Our umpires tonight, Tim McClellan behind home plate, Don Denkinger at first, Larry McCoy second base, and Durwood Merrill at third. Tim McClellan, George Brett, can't get along too well. 2 seasons back. Here's a drive to left. And going back at the warning track is Dean Palmer. Makes the catch in a 1-2-3 inning for Giraldi in the 5th. We head to the 6th. 8-3 Angels. Steve Physioc, Dave Campbell at the Big A in Anaheim. 8-3 Angels have the lead. Jim Abbott has settled down after a rugged beginning, and as a matter of fact, he put the first 2 men on in the 3rd inning. He may have been 1 batter away from coming out of the game, but he settled down.
Well, Joe Gray was up in the bullpen for the California Angels, but this is really the maturity of Jim Abbott over the last couple of years, because when he started off bad before, it usually never got any better. Now all of a sudden he's able to show a little maturity, get past those rough spots, and turn in a good performance.
And he's really working that right-handed lineup of Texas very well. That cut fastball in on the hands has been tough in the 4th and 5th inning. Here he starts a 6, 8-3 Angels. Rookie Dean Palmer leads things off as the count 1 ball, no strikes. Dean fouls it off. 1 ball, 1 strike. Talking to Dean before the ball game about his family growing up. He's a rookie, a very talented one. Leads all of professional baseball this year with home runs. 23, 1 with the major leagues, and 22 in AAA. And he said, well, his dad, George, back in Tallahassee, Florida, really helped him out. Both he and his brother, starting as a linebacker at Florida State University. Fastball misses, 2-1, but he said he always had time. Brother David Palmer, me, got us with the weights, program up, taught me how to get that top hand over, and they feel, the Rangers do, that he has the quickest bat of the 3 big fellas, Sierra and Franco and Gonzalez. They feel he has a very quick bat.
Steve Buechele's throwing a little bit of a monkey wrench into the Texas plans this year because he has played so brilliantly, but that probably makes him a little more marketable. I still think the Rangers may try to trade Buechele for pitching because Palmer's position is 3rd base.
Well, he dumps one over the head of Wally Joyner, and Palmer is on.
Wally got locked a little bit there. It was tough. Palmer got jammed, fisted it off. We talked about when Jim Abbott throws that cut fastball and jams hitters. If he gets it up, then they can flare it over the infield. We'll look at the elevation on this pitch, and you can see it's above the waist. If that's below the waist, it's going to be a broken back ground ball somewhere. Joyner just couldn't quite get there.
So Palmer's on first base, and the fella who is being rumored to be traded, Steve Buechele, is following.
Well, I'm glad Tom Candiotti finally got traded, because that had been a rumor to the Blue Jays for 4 months. Finally came true.
Mark Whitten and Glenn Allen Hill. Indians have made some really nice moves. They've got a very young team. I mean, they're going to struggle this year, and that's one thing they have to do. Eventually, they have to make the step up. 0-1 pitch. Off speed.
One of the problems the Angels have is they're trying to compete and trying to lower their payroll at the same time, and that's a tough thing to do in this day and age.
Former Michigan All-American has the count 1 ball, 1 strike to Steve Buechele, former Stanford star.
Buechele 0 for 2 tonight, but 5 out of the last 6 years he's hit better against left-handed pitching.
Struck him out. That's the 4th strikeout in the game for Jim Abbott. His season high is 7.
Both times he's gotten Buechele, he's gotten him on fastballs up in the strike zone. Not the cut fastball. This is the cross seamer. And he just threw that ball right past Buechele.
Joyner playing behind Palmer at first base. Rodriguez the batter. Singled his first time up. Came around to score on the single by Rafael Palmeiro. Grounded out his last time up. Very enthusiastic young man. They feel as a receiver he is right there because when he came up, he was very shy. And as a catcher, you do not want that the fellow who has to be the negotiator with the pitchers. Fouls it off. No balls and 2 strikes. Well, next Friday night, Dave Campbell and Steve Physioc will be at Dodger Stadium as Eddie Murray, Juan Samuel, and the Dodgers host the surprising Atlanta Braves. That's next Friday night at 10:30 Eastern Time on ESPN. You got a smile on your face, pal. Why?
It's starting to be like Bo Jackson. You're talking in the third person. Steve Physioc will be there. Bo Jackson says, Bo Jackson. That's not a Bo Jackson type hit.
One ball, 2 strikes.
I think Abbott and Parrish are wondering where that pitch was. Mike Fetters is up in the Angel pen.
Just called up. Doug Rader's team has climbed back from a 2-0 disadvantage in the first inning to jump out to an 8-3 lead. And Rodriguez with a swing and a miss. And he is down for the 4th time this year by way of strikeouts.
Boy, Abbott really took something off that pitch. Jim Abbott with that big overhanded curveball, something he didn't have in his arsenal when he first came up. He's thrown about 6 tonight, and that's the best one he's thrown so far.
So with 2 outs, Palmer still at first base. Here's Gary Green. Sacrificed and struck out.
Well, Abbott figured one good curve deserved another. That time, though, he followed through a little too quickly and bounced one to Parrish.
Fouls it off. 1 ball, 1 strike. Or did he? Nope, did not touch it. Got off the catcher Lance Parrish's glove, and that will be a pass ball. So Palmer will move into scoring position.
See if we can figure out what happens here, and Parrish just let it bounce out of his glove. So Lance will get hooked with a PB there. Sometimes catchers just take their eye off the ball a little bit. Situation right now where Abbott has a guy up there, Gary Green, he feels he should get out. And he should bear down right here because Brian Downing, even though he's slumping behind, one swing could put the Rangers back in this one. So Abbott's got to go right after Green here.
Here's the 1-1. Grounded foul. 1 ball, 2 strikes.
Rick Smith, longtime trainer of the Angels, makes the play and says that's how you feel the ball.
He's got quite a sense of humor.
Rick's talking to Bobby Knapp, saying, Bobby, I know you were a great second baseman, but did you see the soft hands when I fielded that ball? Of course, that ball was hit like a slow putt, rolling about 60 feet across the green.
2 outs, top of the 6th. Foul back by Gary Green. Doug Rader, boy, was he a tremendous defensive third baseman in his days in the late 60s, early 70s.
Doug looks so studious with those glasses on.
And he is anything but.
Underneath that shirt, there's an S, and when the glasses come off, it's Clark Kent.
I mean, he is a delight to be around. He has one of the best needles of all the managers in baseball. I mean, he can really get into the players.
Doug, when he first took over the Texas Rangers, was kind of a tyrannical type manager, but he's mellowed out, more in line with what managers have to be like in today's game. You have to kind of get along to get along, if you know what I mean.
Popped up. Wally Joyner calls off Luis Sojo, and Jim Abbott works around the leadoff single by Palmer by striking out Buechele, Rodriguez, and gets Green on the pop-up.
We will return you to Anaheim with the Rangers and Angels in just a couple of moments. But again, in case you missed it earlier this evening in Las Vegas, it went 12 rounds before Mike Tyson won on a unanimous decision, defeating Donovan Razor Ruddock. Ruddock was knocked down twice in the bout, but hung tough. There were a number of low blows and hitting after the bell. But Tyson wins for his 41st professional victory. Now, Tyson afterwards at the press conference, Razor Ruddock did not show up because of an injury. But here's a sampling of what Mike Tyson had to say.
How did Razor Ruddock fighting with both hands this fight make you adjust? And what did you do to compensate with him using both of his hands this time a lot better?
Well, I know I hurt him good with some body shots, and I know that slowed him down because I could tell that it was going to probably be a long fight. So I hit him with some good body shots, and he slowed down pretty much.
Mike, now that you've vindicated, who's next for you?
Hello?
Now that you've vindicated as the greatest heavyweight champion, who's next for you?
I'm just gonna go home and relax. I'm not even thinking about fighting now. I'm just gonna go relax.
Mike, do you have new respect for Razor Ruddock, or do you still feel the same way about him before the fight began?
Well, can I tell you something? I just, I don't know when, but I could see down. I could tell we're gonna fight again.
Mike, it looked like after 2 rounds that we might be looking at a short fight. What was it in the 3rd round that kind of turned it around, made it prolonged?
He came fighting hard. He had a good fighting spirit tonight.
Did the heat affect you at all?
It was pretty hot, but regardless, I was just confident about the fight.
Mike Tyson, a winner by unanimous decision. Charlie Steiner and Al Bernstein were in Las Vegas for the fight. They'll have more on SportsCenter after the game. We return you now to Anaheim to Steve Physioc and Dave Campbell.
Thank you, Chris, where we have 2 outs in the bottom of the 6th inning, an 8-3 Angel lead over the Texas Rangers. Minnesota Twins have already lost tonight, and Kansas City is pounding the Oakland A's 11-0, so California can not only catch a little bit on the Minnesota Twins, but put some ground between themselves and the Oakland A's. Dave Gallagher is the batter with 2 outs. Schofield, Colonia both flied out to left. 2 balls and 1 strike, the count to Gallagher, who has always played well against the Texas Rangers in his career. 329 average, 3 home runs, 9 RBIs. He's been on base twice tonight on a double and a walk. Breaking ball misses the corner. 3-1. Giraldi came on for John Barfield, who had his most disappointing start of this 1991 season. And he was slugged for a pair of home runs by Joyner and Winfield. Misses the corner, and Gallagher is on for the 3rd time in this game, and up to the plate stepped wonderful Wally Joyner.
Key blow in this game came last time Wally Joyner was up. The Angels were leading by 1, 4-3, 2 men on. Bottom of the 4th inning, and after 7 foul balls, Wally Joyner goes real deep.
And he has reason to smile. 3 hits in the night, 4 RBIs. He has scored 3 runs. Calvin Giraldi is coming out. Angels are up 8-3. We started with John Barfield, then went to Calvin Giraldi. They gave up 8 runs. There's 1 more aboard for Mr. Giraldi with 2 outs here in the bottom of the 6th inning. And Kenny Rogers, the 3rd Texas pitcher to go tonight. Kenny from Savannah, Georgia. This is his 19th game. 7.76 the earned run average, but he's a much better pitcher than that. He's bounced around between relieving and starting this year. 82 hits, though, Dave, and 55 2/3.
Yeah, threw 36 walks, and on top of that, that's almost 2 runners per inning. And an excellent ratio is 1. Anything in between that sometimes gets rough. He was in rotation. He is now out of the bullpen as Barfield has taken his spot. Dave Gallagher, the 2-out runner at first base here in the 6th.
And Schiraldi, last time he faced Wally Joyner, he took him deep for a 3-run home run, and Rogers worked with Wally and throws strike one. Fastball outside corner. Not a bad evening. He's got 50 RBIs in the year, 10 home runs. He had that great year back in '87 when he hit 36 home runs.
Well, Wally became only the 9th player to have 100 RBIs his first 2 years in the big leagues. Everybody thought he was the next superstar of baseball, but he's struggled since. I mean, he's had solid years, but nothing to approach that. But that always takes us back to that 1987 season and the baseball. Let's put it this way. There were 696 more home runs hit in 1987 than in 1980. That's quite a few.
Joyner lines it to Palmeiro, and instead of 4 for 4, he's 3 for 4 in the final out of the 6th inning. We enter the 7th here in Anaheim, 8-3 California. It's time for the Squirt Wayback Machine. The year 1973. President Richard Nixon gets in hot water with the opening of the Watergate hearings. In baseball, Doug Rader's aggressive play leads the Astros. Bobby Valentine begins his Angels career as a shortstop outfielder. And Nolan Ryan pitches the first 2 of his 7 no-hitters, all in the year 1973. There he was, Bobby Valentine, and he was a promising shortstop outfielder. They had just moved him to outfield, and Valentine went up against the wall. He was hitting .302, trying to make a catch, broke his leg, and to this day, Dave Campbell, I mean, you look at his leg, and it still has not healed correctly, and that almost finished his career. He still had some time in the major leagues, but really struggled thereafter.
He and Doug were teammates one time in their careers with the San Diego Padres. Another humorous event happened. They were both a couple of pranksters. One time, Bobby Valentine was throwing water balloons out of a hotel, hit Rader in the head. Rader has been known to pay people back. He got Valentine the next day. Bobby Valentine went to the bat rack to take out a bat to go hit in batting practice, and Doug Rader had taped a dead rat to the bat.
Rooster. No balls, 2 strikes, but that man a first-round draft choice. 1968, 5th overall. So many people thought he would have a great career. Tremendous speed. It was never the same after that broken leg in 1973. It was also the year, you know, we told you about Nolan Ryan. Had his first 2 no-hitters, one against Kansas City when he had 12 strikeouts. And about 2 months later, on July 15th, he beat Detroit 6-0, had 17 strikeouts. Downing drives one, left center field. It will be cut off, and Gallagher gets to it. 1 gone in the 7th. Let's go to Chris Myers.
Okay, Steve, in Oakland, the Royals bombing Oakland. Bob Welch giving it up to Kirk Gibson, a 2-run homer. The A's have the worst ERA in the majors. They're in 4th place in the West, and they're trailing 11-0 in the bottom of the 9th. Let's go back to Anaheim.
Thank you, Chris, where the Angels are up 8-3 and trying to put some space between themselves and the Oakland A's, who just 2 weeks ago were in first place, but they have struggled of late. That will be their 4th in a row. Palmeiro. That's a fair ball. And Raphael with the turn at first, hustling to second base, and he better. Safe.
Louis Polonia, trying to prove the fans wrong here, came up with a great play and nearly got Palmeiro. Raphael nearly made a base-running boo-boo there with his team trailing by 5. Turns out to be his 22nd double. He's 3rd in the American League, but Polonia really hustles over after this ball and makes an excellent play. Ball hits right on the outside of the chalk. As long as it gets just a little bit of the chalk, it's a fair ball. And Polonia hustles over, throws a strike. It's bang, bang, but Soho can't hold on to the ball anyway. So Palmeiro with a double.
That's his 2nd hit of the night. Raphael came in hitting .312. The .315 mark right now. Here's Franco. And he drives one. Left center field. Long run for Gallagher. Will he get there? It's gone! Ruben Sierra with his 12th home run of the year.
Jim Abbott threw a lot of pitches early in the game, and it probably has taken its toll. Sierra stretches his hitting streak to 16 games, and he pounded on that one. Abbott tries to get ahead with a fastball, and Sierra crunches. Gallagher runs out of real estate. Cameraman had to be agile on that one.
Marcel Latchman comes out to visit with Jim Abbott, and his night is over. He's thrown over 115 pitches in the night. Angels still lead by 3 in the top of the 7th.
ESPN Major League Baseball is brought to you by Budweiser, the king of beers, who reminds you, friends know when to say when. By Red Devil Oil Enamel for the finish of a lifetime. And by the good tires, good service, and good people at your nearby Goodyear retailer. $45,998 at Anaheim Stadium. Enjoying a California 8-5 lead. New pitcher Mike Fetters. And the first man he faces, first pitch, Franco drives one into left field for a base hit. And Julio 3 for 4 on this night.
Rangers saying, folks, this one is not over. Jim Abbott, we told you, maybe too many pitches early on. He ended up with 118. It was his 118th pitch. It went over the center field fence. Could have been extending him just a little too much. A lot of times if you struggle early, it catches up with you later on.
Pitches in the night.
He improved that strike ratio quite a bit, though. At one time, 28 balls, 29 strikes. So he improved that measurement as the game went on. Fetters out of Kailua, Hawaii. Went to Pepperdine University, Los Angeles area at Malibu. Was the #1 draft choice of the Angels in 1986.
Gonzalez checks his swing, and they say it's a strike. 1 ball, 1 strike. Franco on at first base, 2 runs already in on Ruben Sierra's 12th home run of the year. And with it, Ruben continues his hitting streak and stretches it to 16 games now. Foul off.
Angels, of course, will try to get it to the 9th for this kind of a league. Get Brian Harvey in here if the game stays pretty much the same score. Harvey with 19 saves has been outstanding for the Angels nearly going, but those long men, they have to do the job to get to the 9th for Harvey. Top 10 in the American League in stolen bases. Not a real running situation unless he thinks Fetters is not paying any attention to it.
Misses, and Parrish blocks the play nicely. 2 balls, 2 strikes.
Nice save by Parrish. That keeps the double play in order. Lance had a little lapse last inning, let a ball get away from him for a pass ball, but certainly he made a fine play there to keep Franco at first base.
Goes going, and Gonzalez fouls it off.
Fetters has a little bit of a lean towards the plate when he delivers, and Franco spotted that. Again, trailing by 3 with 1 out in the 7th. Not your real ideal running situation, but Julio Franco has the kind of speed if Fetters starts leaning. Right there, Julio Franco had that spotted, had that base in his hip pocket. So if they're going to give it to you, take it. Keeps you out of the double play. The only thing that can hurt you is a line driving somebody.
Julio 15 stolen bases this year, has been caught 4 times. This time he's not going. It's low. It's 3 balls and 2 strikes. By the way, Dave, we'd like to thank the Vista Library for helping bring us the Squirt Wayback Machine every Friday night.
Mr. Fetters could be sitting on the bubble early here. Franco, see the stolen base index. Probably will run, doesn't, but all 4, and we'll keep an eye on the Angel dugout.
And look at this. An 8-3 ball game has turned 8-5, and Doug Rader sees the tying run coming to the plate. And the booming bat of Dean Palmer leads all professional baseball this year with 23 home runs. Granted, 22 are in the minor leagues, but you get the idea he has good power.
Doug had a very short question to ask the bullpen. He said, is he ready? I think he got the affirmative answer, but he's going to stick with Fetters at least for a while in the at-bat to Palmer.
1 out, 2 on. 2 runs already in on the home run by Sierra. In the top of the 7th inning here at Anaheim, California.
Fetters had a little vapor lock there, kept staring in at the signs. He forgot a man was on second. Parrish was giving him the set of signs for a man on second base, and Fetters started to call him out, and then all of a sudden it kicked in. Oh, yeah, guy on second.
Takes it off the corner. Strike 1. Dean, 3rd-round draft choice in 1986 from Tallahassee's Florida High School. Being a guy by the name of Reggie Jefferson, the 2 high school standouts that year in Florida. Swing and miss. No balls, 2 strikes.
He told me, talking to me before the game, he told me Palmer struck out 152 times at Tulsa in 1989. So like a lot of the home run hitters, he's going to have a lot of oohs and a few ahs. And right now, Bobby Valentine out to talk to about something. I don't know whether he thinks Fetters is not coming to a set. I think he's trying to get a balk call on Fetters. Right now, Tim McClellan's not buying it.
It almost seems like he's saying he's taking the ball out of his glove and punching it when he comes into a set position.
Well, we've mentioned it before that even though they are trying to standardize the 2 leagues, as far as umpiring, they have all umpires now set up in the inside corner in the American and National League, all of them with the inside protector. But there are still some differences, and one of them is that the American League just does not call very many balks. And all you have to do is look at a comparative analysis over the last 15 years, and even though there's 2 more teams in the American League than the National League, there's always many more balks in the National League.
Runners on 1st and 2nd. The 0-2 misses the corner. 1 ball, 2 strikes to Dean Palmer.
Freddie Herzog was really upset. Of course, he had those running Cardinals in the mid-'80s, and when they would play in the World Series, a lot of those American League teams wouldn't come what Whitey thought was set. Kind of hurt his stolen base production.
Palmer sends it to left field. Back to the wall goes Luis Polonia. We're tied at 8.
Who are power-packed throughout the lineup strike for 5 here in the 7th, and Doug Rader probably have a little conversation with himself right now. Palmer goes down and gets a low fork ball and just golfs it out of here. Uppercut swing, and he got it. Polonia is going to climb, but to no avail.
Texas has crawled back from an 8-3 deficit to tie it in the 7th. 5 on the board here in the top of the 7th, and Dean Palmer with his 2nd Major League home run smiles to lock it at 8.
For Jim Abbott, nothing new. He's been the guy who has gotten very little support from his bullpen over the last 3 years. Abbott looked like he had one salted away. He is no longer the pitcher of record.
I mean, the Angels left-handers this year have been doing nothing but winning. Finley, Langston, and Abbott in their 31 starts coming in this ball game were 23-4. Buechele, high chopper, Gaetti, tough play, and he says, Look at this, still 1 out. And Fetters is getting knocked around here in the 7th.
Well, Steve, with the economics being what it is in Major League Baseball this day and age, clubs spending an awful lot of money as Marcel Latchman comes up and is going to make a change in all likelihood. But the economics being what it is today, clubs have to find a way to save some money somewhere, and they usually try to do it in the mid-relief, and that's what's really been tough. That's been a tough part of Major League Baseball. Middle relief this year has not been good.
Well, Mike Fetters came on to replace Jim Abbott, but he could not cool things off. Texas with 5 in the 7th to tie the game. Eichhorn is next. Texas with 5 so far in the 7th inning has tied California 8-8 ball game. Top of the 7th inning. New pitcher is Mark Eichhorn. Mark this year pitching extremely well. Earned run average 0.87, but he came on a little bit too late because Mike Fetters replaced Jim Abbott, was damaged anyhow. Gave up a 3-run home run to the rookie Dean Palmer. And we're tied. Only 1 walk in 41 and a third innings of work.
Yeah, he had faced 168 straight batters going back to last September before he walked Jim Eisenreich on Wednesday night at the Kansas City Royals. He had gone 45 innings without issuing a base on balls.
Go-ahead run. Steve Buechele at first base with only 1 out.
Steve, just to finish up that thing about the economics, I mean, I basically don't blame the clubs. The California Angels have a payroll of $32 million. You have to pay the stars to have them, so you just got to save some money somewhere. But, you know, bench players and middle relief seems to be the spot, and that seems to be a big problem.
Ground ball, base hit back up the middle. Buechele with the turn. He'll hold at second base. And Ivan Rodriguez, another rookie, has come through for Texas. The new Pudge.
7th straight Texas Ranger batter to make base. Ground ball, you can't aim it. Your pitcher got the ground ball, hoping to get the double play, but Rodriguez hits it right up the middle. They have a pinch hitter now coming on for the shortstop, Gary Green. It's going to be Jeff Houston. He'll stay in the game at shortstop. So Ivan Rodriguez continuing his good hitting on the West Coast. He had 3 hits in the ball game against Oakland on Tuesday, and Houston will come on now to bat for Green.
Well, Houston has been no slugger in his own right of late. He's only hitting 147 in his last 27 games, and that has seen his average drop all the way from 250 to 196. But he has gone deep this year.
Chipped the paint off the back of the fence at Arlington down the line, but looks like a long one in the scorebook.
And he comes up with runners in first and second, just 1 out. Texas has scored 5 runs thus far in the inning. This guy had 15 home runs one year in the minor leagues, but it took him darn near 550 at-bats before he got his first major league home run. Chops one. Eichhorn scoops it. He'll underhand, and the runners advance to second and third. Now 2 outs. We've got time to check in with Chris Myers.
Okay, Giants and Padres in San Diego. Gerald Clark batting, and as Steve Physioc would say, see you later. Kevin Mitchell gets back on it, but can't make the play. It's a home run. He drove in 3. The Padres snapped the Giants' winning streak.
We're still in the 7th inning, an American League baseball game. Those National Leaguers go a little faster. 13 hits for the Rangers, 9 for California.
Don't get me started.
6 hits in the inning, and we're back to Brian Downing, who made the first out of the 7th. And then the floodgates opened, and 5 runs scored for Texas. Almaro double, Sierra home, Franco single, Gonzalez walk, Palmer's hit a 3-run home run. Buechele, Rodriguez have singled, and Houston just made an out. But he advanced the runners to second and third. Downing wants a little payback for his old team and lines it hard center field. Here comes Gallagher, makes the catch. That ends the inning. But we head to the bottom of the 7th inning here in California. An 8-8 ball game with Texas and the Angels.
Well, the heat was on the Dodgers in the National League West in Game 2 against Atlanta. They dropped Game 1. The Reds had already won tonight. This is how it went for the Braves. On the throw, Mike Heath overthrows Butler, stealing. Morgan scores. The Dodgers won it 8-2 for a split. And Sunday night, you'll see the Dodgers against the Braves right here on ESPN, 8 o'clock Eastern, 5 o'clock Pacific. Oral Hershiser throwing for L.A. Let's go back to Anaheim.
Well, we've got an 8-8 ball game as the Rangers put 5 on the board in the 7th inning to tie the game. They were down 8-3. And a new shortstop for the Texas Rangers, that's Jeff Hewson. Gary Green got the start. Mario Diaz, one of the disabled earlier this week. Texas working with 2 shortstops. It has been musical chairs at shortstop for Texas this year. Jeff Kunkel, he's been injured. And they had a fellow, Monty Ferris, who they expected great things from, but Bobby Valentine said he just struggled. And here is Dave Winfield to lead off the bottom of the 7th. A pair of hits for Dave. He's been on 3 times, reached in an error, doubled a home run, and hit a booming home run to deep left field. His 15th this year. 393 home runs. 24th all time. Fastball in.
Only guy that's hit 400 who is not in the Hall of Fame is Dave Kingman.
This is Hewson. He throws out Dave Winfield. And this copyrighted telecast is presented by authority of Major League Baseball and may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form without the express written consent of Major League Baseball. And that includes Jeff Kibler. An 8-8 ball game at Anaheim Stadium between the Angels and Texas Rangers. Steve Physioc and Dave Campbell. And we have had a homer power outage tonight. I mean, they have been hitting them out of here. And here is Dave Parker. He's got 5 this year. Dave has a pair of RBIs, but has not been on base. Ground out for an RBI in the 1st to make it a 2-2 ball game. Hit a sacrifice fly to left in the 3rd to give the Angels the lead. Now got 30 RBIs this year. Fouls it back.
The Cobra wanted that one. Saw that backswing in anger. Thought he had a pitch he could handle.
He had some of the ugliest warm-up tennis shoes I've ever seen in pregame. They were purple, lime green, orange, and they had flashes and lightning bolts on them. And I said, where did you get those? Well, Dave Parker goes deep left field. Look at this. See you later, Dave Parker. His pregame warm-up shoes may be ugly, but his swing is still pretty.
It's a 5-home run night at the Big A. Ball flying out of here, and Parker gives the Angels back the lead here in the bottom of the 7th. Rogers tied him up with a fastball his previous pitch, but this time he got it out over the plate where Parker could get the arms extended, and he just sneaks it over the barrier in left center.
Number 6 for Dave Parker this year. The Angels climb in front again, 9-8. And here's Gary Gaetti.
Been Dave's thunder tonight. Winfield and Parker both homering. Wally Joyner with a 3-run shot.
You were waiting for that one, weren't you?
Dave's thunder.
Gaetti has a count, no ball. No balls and 2 strikes.
Of course, when they went through a streak in about mid-April to mid-May when they hit 146 between them, some of the people were calling them the Twin Creeks. Just depends. What have you done for me lately?
Gaetti strikes out. Kenny Rogers with 2 outs now in the 7th inning. And Dave Parker, man, can he make a clubhouse work? Pitched by Kenny Rogers.
Throws the fastball over. Gaetti does not have a real good swing at it. Very a little bit cool.
Dave Parker now has continued his 12-game hitting streak, his longest of the year. He hit 340 over that stretch. Here's Lance Parrish. 1 ball, 1 strike.
Rogers has the ball dancing to the right-handed batters, tailing down and away, but sometimes left-handers, certain left-handers, have more trouble getting out left-handed hitters. Rogers made a bad pitch to Parker.
Two and one. Bobby Valentine saw his team climb back into the game. They were down 8-3 going into the 7th and tied it up. Parker's home run is 6th this year. Push the Angels back in front 9-8. Chopper up the middle. Franco on quickly. Nice play. That does it for California, but Dave Parker's home run gives the Angels the lead.
In Cincinnati, the Reds a hot team, but also a hot batter, Barry Larkin. Against Jim Deshaies of the Astros, it's up, out, and gone. Home run. Remember, he came into this game hitting 2 home runs the day before. In the 3rd inning, Larkin, again, his 2nd home run of the game. Larkin went on to hit 3 home runs in the contest, ended up going 3 for 4. This is a solo shot, his 3rd of the night. He drove in 6 runs as Dibble saved his 21st of the year. The Reds beat the Astros 8-5. They pick up a half game on the first-place Dodgers in the West. Let's go back to Steve and Dave in Anaheim.
A 9-8 ball game, Chris. The California Angels leading the Texas Rangers. Minnesota has already lost the first-place team in the American League West. They lost to the White Sox 4-2. And Rafael Palmeiro, Ruben Sierra, and Julio Franco to face Mark Eichhorn. And they have been a real problem for California pitching tonight. Palmeiro has a pair of hits in RBI. Sierra hit a home run his last time up, a 2-run shot, his 12th this year. And Franco has 3 hits. Change in there. 1 ball, 1 strike.
Eichhorn had a tremendous first half for the Angels last year. Had 13 saves by July and then never had another one the rest of the year. Marcel Lashman's tried to get him to keep his arm up a little higher this year, and he is. Last year he started coming more submarine. Ball didn't do too much.
And he's really had to change his mechanics completely, because when he came to the Toronto Blue Jays, had a really good fastball and had that great year back in '86. And he went 14-6 with a 1.72 and got the fastball up near 90. And he barely gets it 85 now. The Skies one down the right field line, but that's foul, out of play. It's 2 balls and 2 strikes.
Remember, Palmeiro will spend some good time with his buddy Kevin Costner when he's out here in the Los Angeles area. Costner was down in Texas taking some BP. I don't know where they hooked up, but they were pretty good friends.
The 2-2. He hits it hard to right field. Over goes Dave Winfield, but this one will roll to the wall. Around first to second, Palmeiro. He'll stay there with a double. Let's go to Chris Myers.
Thanks, Steve. On this date 50 years ago, Joe DiMaggio went 2 for 5. His streak reached 40, his hitting streak. George Sisler had the modern-day record of 41. He approached that. Currently, Ruben Sierra, with the home run Friday night, has hit in 16 consecutive games, and he's due up to hit in Anaheim, where we take you back with Steve Physioc and Dave Campbell.
Speak of the devil. Up to the plate comes Ruben Sierra. He's batting from the left side this time. His last time up, he hit the home run. Chris Myers told you about that. And here comes Marcel Lachman. Also on this date in history, Phil Niekro of the Cleveland Indians and Don Sutton of these Angels became the first 300-game winners to start against each other in this century. Either Niekro or Sutton got a decision as the Angels scored 6 runs at the bottom of the 8th inning to take the game 9-3. Here in Anaheim, 9-8, but the Rangers coming back.
ESPN Major League Baseball is brought to you by Hershey Syrup with genuine chocolate flavor. Hershey, the chocolate people. By Aetna, a policy to do more. And by Rust-Oleum Wood Saver, the name that means protection.
California Angels with a 9-8 lead, top of the 8th inning. And the Texas Rangers have the tying run on at second base in Rafael Palmeiro. And the new pitcher is Brian Harvey, and has he had an outstanding year this season. 1-1, 1.09 the earned run average, and he has been in there when they have had to close it out. 40 strikeouts, just 4 walks, and that's really been the key, Dave, because in the past, his ability to find the strike zone has simply been the key, because you can't touch him when he's got that forkball going.
He's had a history of very slow starts, taking him sometimes June or July to get into the season. Went through a very intensive off-season conditioning program, came to spring training this year ready to take, as they say in the trade, the bull by the horns. Excuse the cliche, but he did. And right from the get-go, he has pitched very, very well. Great forkball, great fastball. Basically a 2-pitch pitcher, but his fastball explodes going straight down. Sometimes looks as big as a big curve.
Maiden, North Carolina is Brian Harvey's first pitch to Sierra. Fastball that swung on and missed. Strike 1.
Ruben cranked one last time up to extend his hitting streak to 16 games. The longest in Ranger history is 24 by Mick the Quick, Mickey Rivers. Somewhere you figure Sierra, with his hitting credentials, will get past that. I don't know if it'll be this particular streak, but sooner or later, Ruben will probably eclipse that mark.
Fouled back, strike 2. So now Harvey can really work with that nasty split-finger fastball. Harvey already with 19 saves, is well ahead of the pace by the late Donnie Moore's 1985 season, when he established the club record with 31 saves.
Those relievers like those Fu Man shoes, don't they? Anything to get a little psychological edge.
The 0-2. And Sierra lifts it over the head of Schofield. It's into left field. That's a base hit. They will hold the man, Palmeiro, at third base. All right, runners at the corners, nobody out. Let's go to Chris Myers.
In Minnesota earlier, White Sox with a 4-2 lead. Bases loaded in the 9th, but Thigpen gets Kirby Puckett to strike out. Still, he has to get Chili Davis, the major league leader in home runs. But Thigpen serves it up. It's a fly ball out, and the White Sox hang on. Thigpen saves his 15th. Chicago beats the first-place Twins 4-2.
And Chris, if California can win this game tonight, they will pull within 2 games of Minnesota. But the Texas Rangers, in third place in the American League West, just 4 games back, have runners at the corners and nobody out. And California pulls their infield in, although the keystone remains a little double play depth. They are not at the edge of the infield.
Julio Franco 2 years ago led the major leagues in grounding into double plays. The Angels are looking for that right now. They'll give up the tying run and try to get Franco and get rid of the big inning here.
The way they defend Franco, they play him around towards the right field side in the outfield, but standard on the infield. And they hold Sierra at first base. Palmeiro the tying run at third. Sierra's the go-ahead run. The Rangers have not had the lead since they were up 2-0.
Brian Harvey does not hold runners well. That's one thing that could hurt him in this situation. Sierra, good speed, 11 stolen bases so far this year. Harvey has a slow delivery to the plate.
Franco lays off the high fastball. It's 1 ball, 1 strike. Julio in the game, 3 for 4. A double, an RBI, a run scored in the first, a single in the third, a single, a run scored in the 7th.
Julio Franco 4 for 7 career versus Brian Harvey.
Guy with a 95-mile-an-hour fastball. And the fastball goes way in and almost hit Franco in the head. 2 balls, 1 strike.
Well, obviously a situation where Harvey is not aiming at Franco, trying to protect a 1-run lead. This one, he's just trying to come in, but boy, that one had Julio's face in mind. Whoa. Julio rolling that shoulder and getting his face out of there just in time.
Fastball stays high. It's 3-1. If Franco can get on, Juan Gonzalez will be next.
Brian Harvey all of a sudden got ahead of Ruben Sierra 0-2. Got a pitch outside where Sierra could reach it, and since then Brian's been a little out of sync.
That has been the story on Brian Harvey in his past, and he has the Rangers with runners at the corners, nobody out, in the count 3-1. The danger is Franco. Fastball, he got the green light, pops it up, long run Joyner makes the catch, runner tags, he will not go, as Wally's throw is true.
Big out for Brian Harvey, and the Angels are now in position where if they can get the double play grounder, they can get out of the inning. Joyner has to make a tough catch here, and he almost let that one get out. He throws to the plate just in case Palmeiro is tagging up. So Wally with a good defensive play, and the Angels maintain that streak. They're trying to play their 14th consecutive game without an error, which would put them within one of the Major League record held by St. Louis this year and the Cincinnati Reds of 1975. But they want the double play grounder right here.
Juan Gonzalez. He is prone to the strikeout 42 times this year. And Harvey a strikeout pitcher. First pitch to Juan, stays high with the fastball.
Gonzalez picked up his 50th RBI earlier in this ball game. Brian Harvey gets behind 1-0. He's got a great fastball tonight. He is really throwing the baseball. Got behind Franco 3-1, challenged him and jammed Franco with it.
Here's the 1-0 pitch. Breaking down, dropped by Gaetti. He comes home and gets the man there. So 2 big outs.
What great presence by Gary Gaetti. When that ball was hit to him, he was thinking double play all the way, but we had to block it with his body, knock it down. Then he knew he couldn't get the double play, and the veteran had poise, throw to Parrish. Lance makes a good play, blocks off the plate. So Gaetti right now is thinking double play, but once he bobbles, he knows he's got to come home. And throws it there. Parrish has the plate totally blocked off. Palmeiro has to try to navigate the bat, and about a 230-pound Lance Parrish overmatch.
So after Palmeiro doubles to start the inning, Harvey comes on, gives up a base hit, but gets Franco on a pop-up, Gonzalez on a play at home plate. And here's the rookie, Dean Palmer, who was last time up. He's the fellow who hit the 3-run home run to tie the game at 8. The Angels went back in front in the bottom half of the 7th on Dave Parker's home run. And now Harvey's trying to close it out for his 20th save this year. Foul back.
I guarantee you, Palmer didn't see too many guys in the minor leagues with the kind of stuff that Brian Harvey has. That's one of the big differences. If you see a guy with a great fastball in the minor leagues, he's usually a young prospect on the way up, but he ain't going to have a forkball like Brian Harvey. If he did, trust me, he'd be here already. You can throw strikes with that kind of stuff. I don't care if you're 19 years old, you'd be in the major leagues.
The 1-1. Boy, that was a great pitch, just diving down. You throw the forkball that hard.
Harvey, number 2 to Rob Dibble in his career for strikeouts per 9 innings. And this is the fastball again. He still hasn't thrown that devastating forkball. The one on the bottom really falls out. You see him with a forkball grip there. But he can put those fingers back together.
But they stay with the forkball, and he gets Dean Palmer. And what a job of pitching by that man, Brian Harvey. With runners in the corners and nobody out, he gets out of the jam. Bottom of the 8th inning at Anaheim, California. 45,000 fans watching the California Angels with a 9-8 lead in the Texas Rangers. They've been out hit 15-10, but they have 3 home runs that have proved to be too much for the Texas Rangers to handle. And the last one broke an 8-8 tie on Dave Parker's 6th home run of the year. Luis Sojo will lead things off, to be followed by Dickie Schofield, and back to the top of the order, and Luis Polonia. Sojo on the night 2 for 3. Bunt single in the 2nd and a base hit to left field in the 4th.
You have that devastating closer like a Brian Harvey. It makes the difference. He comes in, man on 2nd, nobody out. Heart of the order coming up. Gives up a single, 1st and 3rd, nobody out. Yet he has the ability to get out of it.
And the Rangers have now stranded 10 runners in this game. Well, he walks Sojo. Kenny Rogers starts the 8th with trouble.
Bobby Valentine chewing on those fingernails. Dick Schofield, last time he came up with a 1-run lead, a man on 1st and nobody out, Doug Rader had him sacrifice the man along. We'll see if that's in mind again. Right now, Rafael Palmeiro, Ivan Rodriguez going to have a little chat with Kenny Rogers.
Well, this Sunday on ESPN, we get a chance to see Orel Hershiser go after his 2nd win of the year. He takes on the Atlanta Braves. And Hershiser missed more than a year of baseball because of right shoulder problems. He's back, and he certainly looks strong. It's the Dodgers and Braves Sunday night baseball. John Miller, Joe Morgan, right here on ESPN. Luis Sojo on at first base. Dick Schofield, the batter. He wants to sacrifice the man over, but bunts it foul. Strike 1.
Angels borrowing a little page from former manager Gene Mauch. And Doug Rader's done a lot of that this year with the tail end of his order. Chance to get a run. He'll interchange Sojo and Schofield in the 8 and 9 spot, but each of them has been very good at moving the men along with the bunt.
Rogers pitch. Schofield gets it down, and it's a good one. Buechele throws out Schofield, and there's one gone.
Again, the art of the bunt is Schofield's ability to lean over the plate and put the bat on the ball. So many hitters kind of shy away. They pull the bat back. Dick Schofield, look at leaning right over the plate, follows the ball right onto his bat. Excellent bunt by Dick Schofield.
Dickie's 2nd of the game. And that takes us to Luis Polonia, who is 1 for 4 in the night. Singled his first time up, came around to score, and the double by Wally Joyner. Since that time, a pair of groundouts and a flyout. Polonia lifts it to left field. This will be trouble. In comes Palmer, and he makes the play near the foul line. Doug Rader's team is 9 games over 500 to start the night, 40 and 31.
Well, we mentioned a couple of times Dean Palmer with only 1 game in left field in his professional career, but he's handled himself very well out there tonight. Took 1 step back, but was able to come in and make the catch. So tough enough breaking into the big leagues when you're 22 years old, and then they ask you to play a position you've never played before.
And that takes us to Dave Gallagher with 2 outs. Angels have a chance to move within 2 games of first place in the American League West, and that's despite winning just 18 games at home this year. They came in tonight, record of 17 and 16, but they have the best road record in baseball, 23 and 15. Here's a 1-0 to Gallagher. Low, blocked nicely by Rodriguez.
This is a case where Kenny Rogers has an open base with a right-handed batter up, but I think you got to go after that right-handed batter Gallagher, because the left-handed batter on deck is not your ordinary hitter. He is Wally Joyner, who already has 3 hits tonight. And I think you got to take your chances with Gallagher, who's never been known as a great RBI man. I hope Rogers isn't pitching around him to get to Joyner.
Misses inside. 3 balls, no strikes.
sure if Bobby Valentine wanted to pitch around Gallagher here, he'd have Rodriguez put the hand out for the fourth wide one. But he wants to take his chances with Gallagher and not Joyner.
Well, he throws inside, ball 4. And up to the plate steps Wally Joyner. And I know it's left-hander against left-hander, but Joyner is 3 for 4 in his last time up when he made the out. He crushed the ball, but lined it right into the glove of Rafael Palmeiro.
Well, Bobby Valentine has left-handers, Jeffcoat and Rosenthal down in the bullpen. Also Jeff Russell. He doesn't want to see any more of Kenny Rogers.
Rogers trying to keep it close. Big bats are coming to the plate in the 9th inning, but first we must close out this 8th. 9-8 California. California Angels have a 9-8 lead on the Texas Rangers. New pitcher is Mike Jeffcoat. Does not have the fastball Kenny Rogers does, but has very, very good control. And after Rogers walked 2 in the inning, Bob Valentine said we need somebody with good control. As you see, Jeffcoat 3.19 earned run average, but check out the walks, 8 in 36 2/3. 42 hits though, and the man that steps to the plate has plenty of trouble. And Wally Joyner, 3 hits in the night, 3 runs scored, 4 RBIs. And coming up next on ESPN, Chris Myers and Montgomery will be there for boxing, Wimbledon, Jimmy Connors. A look at what Jimmy has going on, and baseball highlight scores from around the major leagues. Look at that Tyson-Ruddock matchup in Las Vegas. Heavyweight bout. Sports Center is next. Crowd roaring for number 21.
Well, even Joyner's out tonight with a line drive to Palmeiro. So this is not exactly the guy Bobby Valentine wants to see in this situation.
Soho at second base. Gallagher at first.
Jeffcoat now leads the American League in appearances by coming into his 36th game tonight. Mike's been around. He's been with Cleveland, San Francisco. 31 years old. He's out of Chattanooga.
No balls, 2 strikes. So Jeffcoat has the count his way, but Joyner has had some success against Big Mike in his past. 7 for 17. 3 RBIs. 412 the average. He loops it into left field. That's a base hit. Here comes Soho. Angels are up 10-8.
Daddy Mo, too, made a decent pitch, but not the kind of pitch you want to make when Wally World is on fire. Joyner flares it. Man on third and second now, open base. Ball in the inner half. Joyner just protecting. Figures he'll walk Winfield here to get to Parker. We'll wait and see. But this, the old parachute down the left field line.
And what a night for Wally Joyner. A bunt single, a pair of doubles, a 3-run home run. He has 5 RBIs in the night.
Now, once again, I don't know if Kenny Rogers thought, hey, I got an open base with a right-handed batter up, but I know Bobby Valentine wanted Kenny Rogers to go after Dave Gallagher because he knows that Joyner's swinging a hot bat. And despite the fact Bobby brought in Jeffcoat, Jeffcoat got ahead. Joyner still got the hit. So they'll take the chances with Parker against the left-hander with the bases loaded, and David with a chance to blow the cover off this one.
The last time Bobby Valentine saw Big Dave Parker at the plate, they had Kenny Rogers, a left-hander, on the mound. And Rogers served up a fastball to try to go away with Dave, and he took it to left field and deep. Hit his 6th home run of the year and broke an 8-8 tie.
Rangers have one of the most devastating offensive lineups in all of baseball, but if Bobby Valentine can't get the pitching staff healthy and piece together what he's got, Texas is not going to compete in this division.
Runners on first and second. Excuse me, bases loaded. Parker takes strike one. Gallagher's on third. Joyner at second base and Winfield at first. Here's the 0-1. And Parker sends it to right field. Sierra has it measured. He makes the catch, ending the inning. And we head to the 9th inning here at Anaheim. Angels are up by 2. Top of the 9th inning, California Angels are in a pretty good situation. They have the lead. They have one of the best closers in baseball on the mound and the best defense in the American League. They've already have a record 13 straight games without an error. They're trying to go 14 in a row for Doug Rader and move 10 games over 500. They're 40 and 31, and if they win, they're within 2 games of first place in the American League West.
Well, Gary Gaetti said his club is peaking, and if they hold on to win this one, this is a good victory for the Angels. They came back from a deficit, blew a big lead, but still hold a 2-run lead as we go to the 9th.
The batter is Steve Buechele. 1 ball, no strikes. Buechele tonight 1 for 4. And that was an infield hit his last time up. Harvey with the high fastball. 2 balls, no strikes. And showing a little of the movement that he had in the 8th inning when he struggled early in the 8th with his control and settled down. Got Franco Gonzalez, Palmer in a row.
The reason that extra run is so big, it probably forces Buechele to take a pitch here. Of course, Harvey not throwing strikes, but a 2-run lead, the Rangers got to take a strike. Harvey not throwing strikes right now, but if it were a 1-run lead, Buechele 2 balls, no strikes. If he would have seen something he liked, he'd have been hacking.
The 3-0 pitch. In there, strike 1.
Buechele looking down at third base coach Dave Oliver, who only puts a hand out to say, if it's exactly where you're looking, go ahead.
The 3-1. High ball 4. So the tying run will come to the plate here in the 9th inning. Well, it was just this last Sunday. The Detroit Tigers were playing the California Angels, and Doug Rader's team had the lead. Brian Harvey was on the mound, and at the plate was Mickey Tettleman. Now, this was Sunday's game, and Tettleman was looking, and look what happened. Tremendous home run off the facade in right center. It tied the game at 2, and the Tigers went on to win.
Great relief pitchers have to put that out of their mind, though. Let's see what Brian Harvey can do here.
He starts out. Ivan Rodriguez, strike 1.
Bobby Thigpen of the White Sox has been through a nightmare a lot of this season, but he came back, got a save tonight. He's been pitching well of late. You got to be very tough mentally to be out there with a game on the line all the time.
Rounds it foul. And Rodriguez in the hole, no balls and 2 strikes. He's enjoyed a good night. 2 for 4 to push his average over the 300 mark. He's now hitting .323. The Rangers really have been without a great catcher since the Jim Sundberg era. Rodriguez wants to change that. He gets a base hit to left field. Polonia scoops it on 1 hop. There's runners on first and second. Nobody out here in the 9th.
Jeff Houston will hit, and I think that basically means that we're going to see a bunt. Bobby Valentine will play for the tie. He's got Houston's coming up. Brian Downing is on deck, but he does have Kevin Reimer, his left-handed hitting specialist, still over on the bench.
Maybe Harvey just needed those guys on base. That 8th inning, he had runners on first and third, nobody out, and worked around it without a run scoring. California's up by 2.
Wally Joyner, the infield captain, because he's been around the longest, along with Schofield. He's giving the signs on what they're going to do, and Gary Pettis is going to come in to run at first base for Rodriguez. Gary Pettis, the speedster, representing the tying runs. So Bobby Valentine wants that man, Gary Pettis, who can pick him up and lay him down to get on there.
Houston squares, but takes outside corner, strike one.
Interesting situation looming if Houston can get the bunt down and move the men up. Bobby Valentine's got to make a tough decision. He's got Brian Downing, who's really slumping. And he's got Kevin Reimer over on the bench, but I think Valentine also knows how much this game means to Downing. Brian 0 for 5 tonight and in the throes of a bad slump, but Reimer's getting a bat, so maybe that decision has been made.
Here's Kevin. This time, Houston takes it high. 1 ball, 1 strike.
No room for sentiment. Joyner just discussing the defensive situation. I think in this situation, what the Angels want to do is make sure they get 1 out. You don't want to try anything real fancy here. You want to get 1 out. Go ahead and allow the runners to move up. If they get a base hit to tie the game, you still have the last licks in the bottom of the ninth. But you don't want to get too fancy here.
Here's your story. Runners in first and second, nobody out. The 1-1 pitch. Houston can't get it down. It's 1 ball and 2 strikes.
See Kevin Reimer moving out. I was wondering if he might come up and hit for Houston with 2 strikes, but Valentine called him back in the dugout. Seen managers do that. They send a guy up the bunt. Guy can't do it for 2 strikes, and then they put a hitter in. Really a tough situation for a hitter. Saw Reimer coming out, and then he went back in the dugout. I saw Tommy Helms do it one time in Houston. Came up, got a base hit.
Do you bunt here with 2 strikes, Dave?
I don't know.
Well, they will. This time he gets it down. Parrish up quickly, struggles. Bases loaded.
Well, Lance just lost his footing. That'll go as a base hit. Angels keep their airless streak going, but they don't care about that right now. They want to win the baseball game. So he did bunt with 2 strikes. Houston lays down a pretty good one. Didn't really want to pop it up, but Parrish just stumbled. And Brian Downing is heading to home plate. So maybe sentiment did take over for Bobby Valentine and Doug Rader. It's been a long evening for the Angel skipper. Marcel Latchman out to talk with Brian Harvey, but you know Harvey's the guy right now.
The Sports Center will be coming up next, and they'll be taking a look at Mike Tyson and Razor Ruddock, Jan Montgomery, and Chris Myers. Also Wimbledon highlights. They finally got it underway. No rain over there, perhaps. Well, I can't say no rain. There had to be a little bit. It is England. Baseball scores and highlights. It's all next on Sports Center. Here in Anaheim, bases are loaded. 10-8. The Angels have the lead. And Brian Harvey will face the ex-Angel. Career leader in home runs, hits, games played. Just about every offensive category. Brian Downing in his return has worn an 0 for 5 collar.
Well, the Angels are probably looking for a little dose of the Gary Gaetti special, which would be a triple play. Gaetti was down there, turned 2 in 1 game last year. He's turned 6 in his career. And the Angels would love a ball hit to Gaetti near the bag because he might do it again. Gaetti has turned 6 triple plays in his career. The all-time record is 9. And if you don't think that's amazing, think about the Los Angeles Dodgers, who have not turned a triple play since 1949. Gaetti knows triple plays. Sometimes it takes a strong stomach just to watch.
The 1-1 pitch. 1 ball, 2 strikes. That great split finger fastball. That is fallen sharply in the last month. Downing has been in this horrible slump. Texas with the bases loaded this year, 358 average and 44 RBIs. A swing and a miss, and down goes Downing.
Boy, and Brian Harvey made great pitches on Brian Downing. I mean, this is a nasty fork ball right there. We told you about the monstrous break on his fork ball. It's like an overhanded curveball of a Greg Olson. And Brian just trying to put it in play. Tough pitch to hit.
And now he faces the lefty swinging Rafael Palmeiro. Brian Downing in his return to Anaheim 0 for 6. Strike one.
Brian Harvey a little bit like Dan Stanhouse used to be for Earl Weaver. He'd just get himself in constant trouble. Weaver would go back and smoke a pack of cigarettes. Stanhouse would somehow get out of it. Kind of like Mitch the Wild Thing Williams when he was with the Cubs, too.
In there, strike two. Well, Harvey did the same thing in the 8th inning, struggled with his control, and then just erased them without a run. Bases loaded. The count 0-2. 1 out. 9th inning, Angels up by a pair. He reaches out, dumps it to left. Polonia with the catch. Tag at third, no play.
Well, it looked spectacular, but Louis Polonia made a mistake there. He should not have thrown to home plate. He should have conceded the run, throwing to third base to keep Pettis, the tying run, at third, and the runner at first base, Houston, from going down to second. It looks spectacular, but with a 2-run lead, you do not want to throw this ball to the plate. Polonia airmailed the cutoff man, and that could have been disastrous.
So the bases remain loaded, but now 2 outs in the bottom of the 9th.
Steve, it's taken us 3 hours and 32 minutes to get to the moment of truth, and it's the best the Rangers have against the best the Angels have. Brian Harvey and Ruben Sierra. Kind of what it's all about. Took us a while to get here.
And Sierra taking the first pitch, and it's ball 1. There's Fowler and Montgomery next with SportsCenter. 10-8 here at the Big A in Anaheim, California, with the bases loaded. This year, Ruben Sierra is 3 for 4 with 7 RBIs. 1-0 pitch. Foul back. 1 ball, 1 strike.
You're an infielder in this situation. All you're thinking about doing is knocking a ball down if it looks like it's going to be a base hit. Try to keep it in the infield. You know Pettis might try to score from second base even if you knock it down.
Outfield plenty deep. Oh, great pitch by Harvey. It's 1 ball, 2 strikes. So Harvey's 1 pitch away from getting out of a bases loaded, no out jam, and picking up his 20th save. Crowd of 45,000 plus on their feet. Harvey's ready. The 1-2. Struck him out. Mark Eichhorn gets the win. Kenny Rogers takes the loss, but that man Brian Harvey with his 20th save, and the California Angels have 14 straight errorless games as they beat Texas 10-8. For Dave Campbell, I'm Steve Physioc from Anaheim, California.